Whoa! These Vapo-Cool drops hit fast!
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That fun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks Vapo-Cool drops. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Weather pattern still in a slow motion process, but things are starting to move, but no major changes until the middle of next week. Partly cloudy skies this evening and overnight. Evening temperatures taking that drop out of the 80s into the upper 70s. Still low humidity, 68 for the overnight low. Friday, sunny skies, 88 Friday night. Clear skies, 67 the first weekend of October. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful, nice and sunny Thursday in St. Louis. We got a little playoff baseball going on right now. Wasn't too crazy about the fact that the Dodgers won so quickly, Fred, but I guess the Dodgers. I really got to root for the Red Sox today, I think, because I don't want to see Dodgers and Yankees again.
Oh, good.
That would be my position on everything. All right, so as we get rolling here, we have. Do we have technical difficulties? Testing 1, 2. Sue, are you there? Yeah, she's not there. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So that's that's an altogether different issue that's way above my pay grade. We're trying to Sue, and I think that in the effort of full disclosure, I've done this before as to not fake out the audience. Sue is here 95% of the time sitting right next to me, but she's had some, personal business to deal with. And when she does the traffic in the morning, she does it at home, which simplifies everything. Are you there yet? Are you there yet? No, we do not have her. That is not a good situation, unfortunately. All right, Fred, it's going to be you and I chatting here in the open. Hope you have something to talk about here. Let me kind of lay out the show just quickly here because Carl Cannon's going to join us from Real Clear Politics. He's the Washington bureau chief. He's been around D.C. for a long time. He's been around a lot of D.C. shutdowns, I'm guessing, Fred. So we'll have Carl's perspective. And look, one of the things I like about Carl is he's pretty much a straight reporter.
He calls them the way he sees.
Yeah, he's going to offer you some opinions, but he's not afraid to be critical of Trump when Trump needs to be criticized. One of the things, did you hear? Maybe I can do this right now.
It's kind of like Real Clear Politics, which they'll give you both sides of everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, Real Clear really does do that, which is one of the reasons that he's one of the bureau chiefs there, because it is one of those sites where you can, literally go on there every day. People ask me that question. Like, where do you go? What are your news sources? Well, I subscribe to a lot of different things, but if you go to realclearpolitics.com, you'll just see every day, and sometimes they update it for the afternoon, a list of op-eds, opinion pieces, different news pieces, and they're back and forth, on one side, like say it's the shutdown, the Democrat side is shut down. Here's a viewpoint, Republican side, here's a viewpoint. So it's a great way because it essentially just kind of collates all the news that's out there. And they also have Real Clear Markets. In fact, on that note, John Tamny's a guy that we've had on before. I think it's been a little while. He's the editor of Real Clear Markets. And he's written a book, and the book came out a couple of months ago. It's called Deficit Delusion, Why Everything Left, Right, and Supply Side Tells You about the National Debt is Wrong. And this kind of surprises me a little bit because I've talked about Medicaid and Social Security, in particular Medicare reform, in order to solve some of these problems. John is actually taking it in a completely different direction. Now, unfortunately, both of our approaches are not feasible because in this particular political era, I don't think it's possible. So my perspective would be, you've got to have people who are serious about entitlement reform. Republicans need to be honest about this, but they won't be because they're worried about their next election. John's position is, forget about all that, right? We need to reduce the amount of taxes being collected in this country because once we send it there, they spend it. And they love to spend it. And that's what's happened ever since, I voted for Ronald Reagan in 1984. As a fiscal conservative, I've always wanted the size and scope of government to be reduced, including the amount of spending. John Tamny says, look, they're spending all this money because we're sending them this money.
So
right?
He's saying turn off the spigot.
Yeah, he is, like, significantly turn off the spigot. It's an interesting approach. But again, to a certain extent, I think it's fantasy land because there's no way. Look where we are right now. You got, Chuck Schumer shutting down the government. And you have Republicans saying Chuck Schumer's just shutting down the government because he's afraid of the AOC Senate matchup. AOC says, I got nothing to do with this. And then they start talking about healthcare. There's so much back and forth here. It's hard to know exactly, what's going on and what's true. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson.
Let's make absolutely clear what's happening here. Real pain is being inflicted upon the American people because 44 Democrats in the Senate have voted for the third time to reject the completely nonpartisan, completely clean, very simple 24-page continuing resolution that we passed in the House here 2 weeks ago.
One of the things that the Democrats want is they want this money back for NPR and PBS, to which I say, F you, Democrats. No way. We're not giving you that money back. And there was somebody, I can't remember which NPR affiliate, somebody went out there and took a stand yesterday from NPR and said, look, this is the first day that we don't have our funding, but we're still going to be there for you, covering the news there. Okay, good. Do it. I don't care if you want to do that. We don't want to give you our money to do it, right? We don't want to subsidize you. I don't get subsidized for doing this show. I depend on sponsors. And so maybe this is all going to work out just fine, right? But Speaker Johnson makes it clear that's one of the things I want here.
They proposed a wild list of partisan priorities. Among them, they want to return $500 million to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to prop up left-leaning and biased media organizations. We're not doing that. The American people don't want us to do that. We don't need the Corporation for Public Broadcasting funded by taxpayers anymore because we're in their age of ubiquitous media. There's 200 of you guys here? There's so many outlets. We don't need to do that. We're not going to do that.
And then he talked about the rural hospital situation.
They want to remove the rural hospital fund that Republicans fought so hard to put into the One Big Beautiful Bill. We set $50 billion aside to take care of rural hospitals. Why would Chuck Schumer want to get rid of that? I don't know. A lot of those rural hospitals are in red states. You have to decide for yourself what the motivations are here. But they say they're for health care. Why would they want to do that?
So I have to play. I won't play the AI. I don't think I have it in here. But the AI Schumer bit?
Yeah.
Ethan's busy now. We're trying to get Sue on the air, and I can't bother him to put that in the audio file. But basically, in case you missed it, I played it a couple of times the last couple of days. You have Chuck Schumer saying things that are just ridiculous because it's AI generated and it's satire. And in the video that they put out, that the White House put out, there was Hakeem Jeffries standing next to Chuck Schumer with a sombrero on that was kind of like tilting back and forth. And a mustache, right. So it was a meme, and they felt it was racist. That, of course, it's racist. I'm not sure how it's racist. J.D. Vance said that yesterday. But, Fred, I swear to God, I can't help myself. It's the last month. I have to listen to CNN because they're just unhinged on this stuff. Really, really unhinged. So here's, because they're not happy. Caitlin Collins, that's who I hear when I get off the air. See, usually, I told you this, I listen to Laura,
right?
But I've been putting on Caitlin Collins because they're, the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, they were apoplectic. They don't like the sombrero stuff. So then she's, being asked about this on CNN last night.
So we played sound from Vice President Vance, not just defending that AI racist video of Minority Leader Jeffries wearing a sombrero.
Okay, here, let's John Berman. Okay, this is what I love about the media. The racist, he just declares it, the racist video. John, why is it a racist video? See, what a journalist would do is they would say that they say is racist, right? John Berman, as a journalist, should say that Hakeem Jeffries says is racist. Not that it is racist. That's not his job to declare that. It's his job to declare that it's not racist because it's not racist, but that's just one little pickup there.
But also like celebrating that video, and it was playing on a loop in the briefing room today. What are you hearing from the inside about that?
It was not only just playing on a loop in the briefing room. If you've never been in the press briefing room, for those who haven't, there are loudspeakers overhead so you can hear announcements or what's being said, or if there's an event going on with the president in the Rose Garden, for example. They were playing that mariachi music as well over the loudspeakers.
I have been in that room, by the way, Fred. I've been in there with Lisa.
That's right.
Lisa Desjardins, who actually, I like Lisa a lot. She works for PBS and the PBS NewsHour, and I think she's safe in her job despite the cut in funding, but she gave me a great tour one time when I was in DC many years ago.
For all the press that was coming in and out of the White House today inside the press briefing room. It just kind of gives you a window, John, into how they're dealing with this and how they believe they have the upper hand when it comes to the messaging here, and also kind of how things have changed from the first time Donald Trump was in office. I mean, there was a shutdown then. I remember all 35 days of it. As the president said at the beginning, he'd be proud to shut the government down. And then it ended, obviously, with him not getting the money for his border wall. This time, there's a moment here. They're being heavily criticized over these posts by the president, by Democrats. And instead of backing off or apologizing for it, they're leaning into it, and they're playing the music over loudspeakers and on repeat inside the briefing room because they simply don't care about that criticism.
And it's kind of funny too, and it works, but they get so, these journalists with a capital J, they take themselves so seriously. And I know these people because I used to be one of them. I used to be an embarrassing journalist with a capital J. I was a news director. I was a news anchor for a while before I went to Straight Talk. And look, I understand, and I'm a person who in the past has criticized the Trump administration, like during the first administration. Some of you might even remember this. This whole thing about whether it's presidential or not, right? We've given that up a long time ago. And anything that could be considered inappropriate or deemed somewhat racist when you're joking around and poking a little fun here, all of that matters not at all to me. Not at all. And the reason is because of what happened between 20 and 2024. There was no effort to ask that administration anything seriously. It's interesting because I love the role, and I think we knew that there was going to be a role for J.D. Vance that was different than other and past vice presidents. I think that it's very, very clear that 9 months, 10 months into this administration, J.D. Vance is playing an incredibly important role with the messaging in particular. And it's not like he's taking it over from, President Trump. President Trump's out there all the time answering questions as well. Now, on the topic of the shutdown, let me kind of lay this out here for the show. And I want to play a little bit of audio here before we get to the break. Carl Cannon's coming up. Then we have Edward Ring from the Center for American Greatness, who will talk about the 10 years of censorship that really was censored between 2015 and 2025. That's not getting nearly enough attention. We have Sue's News in the next hour. Curtis Houck will join us from Newsbusters to talk about the liberal reaction to the shutdown. Also, there's an interesting trust in the legacy media poll, which doesn't go very well for the legacy media. Congresswoman Ann Wagner is going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. Mark Sutherland. Mark's a friend. He's got an official title. His Majesty's Honorary Consul of Great Britain and Northern Ireland to the state of Missouri. He's also the owner of the Stone Ledge Distillery in Defiance. And we're going to talk to him about a couple of different things, including British Airways soon to start those direct flights between Lambert and Heathrow. We might actually be able to call ourselves an international airport now. I know we've been going to Germany here for a few years, but wow, I thought that was a big deal. So we'll discuss that. I mentioned John Tamny, the editor of Real Clear Markets. He'll be with us to talk about some of this deficit stuff, and I'll have audio cut of the day. Now, we had this situation. Fred, you're gonna have to help me out with this one because this is one of the first things that I saw this morning, and I just can't believe it happened again. I think we could both admit that it has not been the best year for the aviation industry, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
So 2 Delta Airlines regional jets, collided. There was a low speed
collision
right?
on the runway.
Taxiway at LaGuardia.
Right. One of the wings clipped the fuselage of another plane.
Fair to say that could have been a lot worse.
There were like more than 90 people on both planes.
Yeah. So the aircraft that was carrying 32 people was getting ready for takeoff to Roanoke, Virginia. And that's the aircraft that had the wing made contact with the fuselage of this aircraft that was arriving from Charlotte, North Carolina. They had 61 people on board. The NTSB says it happened at the intersection of 2 taxiways. They sent a team of 10 investigators. Flight recorders have been recovered from both airplanes. It wasn't clear, according to the story and the reporting, who was at fault. But air traffic control had instructed the Virginia-bound plane to hold short and yield to the other aircraft before the collision. So here's a little of the aircraft, tower chatter.
We need trucks on Alpha. The emergency truck, sir? We have 2 CRJs on mic that collided.
Well, it sounds to me like the one that was coming in was not paying attention, and they didn't listen to what they said. So then they had to report this.
You guys did clip, correct? Yeah, we did. Their right wing clipped our nose and the cockpit. Do you have any injuries on board? We have 1 injury to a flight attendant.
It was a flight attendant that was hurt, probably knocked over by the impact. But good Lord, I mean, look, it's still the safest form of travel out there. But this has been a year for the record books, and unless we're just hearing about these things more often. But that type of thing, especially in the aftermath of all the other, air disasters, you would think they'd have a better handle on that from the tower to say, we got to be careful about this stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. My son Shane was at LaGuardia just hours before.
Really?
He flew into St. Louis yesterday afternoon, last night, but he flew on Southwest, so he wasn't in the Delta section. But he was right there.
And they had to take, both. Everybody had to leave both of those planes. They put them up in a hotel and they got them off today. But that would kind of freak you out, I think. All right. Well, we have Sue will have to tell me the answer. Is the technology so bad that we have to do I'm just going to ask you before I play the traffic sounder. Testing 1, 2. Now we have you on the phone, right?
Yeah.
What are we going to do here? Do we know?
Oh, you know what? Well, they've given me instructions on what to do, and I've got this little pointer, and I'm pointing things and putting in IP addresses. Let's just not hold out too much hope, but I think I might have done something.
Okay.
I don't know if it's positive.
Okay, but we'll do this one on the phone, right?
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
I'll tell you what, we had an accident occur 70 at Goodfellow, and that was causing a jam in both directions. So if you're traveling out there and going, it was the right lane and the right shoulder that have been blocked. And now they're saying it's been cleared, but we do have a slow go in both directions. Now, if you are westbound on 6440, it's just moderate volume, approaching Hampton out through McCausland, slowing at 270, and then Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 40 split, southbound 270, moderate volume, but it does stretch from Page down through Manchester. It's a little slow at Gravois, too. 44 westbound slowing at 270 and some volume southbound 55 at Bates. Here's where it looks good. If you're headed into Illinois, you're golden. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Celebrate the spooky season with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. You can take 15% off your air duct and dryer vent cleanings. Book online at ZeroResSTL.com and take advantage of the saving.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you need a garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are open now for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of your choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis and they get paid weekly. Available to eligible Medicaid members in St. Louis. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need, and your caregiver gets paid. Freedom Care has over 7,000 five-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want to receive great care from a loved one, go to freedomcare.com or for faster service, call 314-597-1749. 314-597-1749. That's 314-597-1749.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. And you know, your home is your sanctuary. You need to take the first step to peace of mind with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from the #1 Generac generator dealer in the country, Generator Supercenter. We learned the hard way here in St. Louis during the tornado recently that power can be knocked out. But even outside of that, what if the power grid fails and it's 100 degrees here in St. Louis? You don't want to be that person. Get with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis today. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com. Tell them that we sent you along.
Reardon's back. Smarter talk for the Show Me State. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, Sue's going to be in the studio tomorrow for sure. We have some remote location technical difficulties here this afternoon that we're working on. Don't forget, tomorrow's a Friday. That means we have a Reardon Roundtable. We will toss around all the stories of the week locally and nationally with State Rep Steve Butts, State Senator Nick Schroer, and John Gaskin, former head of the NAACP in St. Louis County, all be here tomorrow on the show. Here is the former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, on the government shutdown.
They feel better fighting, and I think that if Schumer and Jeffries had tried to cave early, that they would have been thrown out, because the base out there wants a fight. They don't care if they win or not. They just have to emotionally be involved in fighting Donald Trump. And the result's going to be the country's watching.
So we have one of the best Washington, D.C. correspondents in history with us, Carl Cannon. How about that for a lead-in this afternoon from Real Clear Politics? How are you, Carl?
I'll take it, Mark.
Well, you've been around, safe to say you've been around a fair amount of government shutdowns and situations like this, right?
It's probably the 8th one I've covered.
So what's different about this one? And here's what I'm trying to determine. I don't see how the Democrats get out of this. I really don't. I don't see where their leverage is. And I know this healthcare thing is really their talking point. I think that polls very well. We're already looking at what might happen in the midterms. But what's your gut check here on how this might resolve itself? And will it be 35 days like the last time? Will it, will this get over by next week? Or what are you hearing on Capitol Hill right now?
Well, there's several things that are different this time, Mark. One is that the Democrats are doing something odd. Their talking point is the Republicans closed the government. Now, there was a vote in the Senate. Republicans voted to keep it open. Democrats voted to close it. And they don't care. They're just repeating this.
Right.
The second thing is they're saying that the Republicans are lying when they say that any federal money goes to people who are not American citizens. That this is a big lie. Joe Scarborough the other day used the word like 30 times. It's their talking point. The third thing that's different is that we're so siloed now. Democrats read their sources and watch their TV and listen to their radio, and Republicans do theirs. So Democrats, unless you're paying attention to this full time, if you're just ordinary working American and you're a Democrat, you think, I guess the Republicans close the government, and they're banking on that.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's one of the things that's pretty clear. Yeah. Well, because that's what that was what I said earlier this week, that the narrative, look, I think that you have some polling out there that shows that the Democrats might get the blame. But look, you let the accumulation on the legacy media where they blame, the Republicans for this, it's going to add up. Now, on point number 2 that you mentioned, because honest to God, Carl, I can't determine who's telling the truth or not on the migrant issue for the healthcare. I do know, Rand Paul kind of explained this pretty well, and he's against the CR. He always is. But I think there's certainly truth to it. There have been things that have happened, and some of the stuff has fallen through the cracks. But you got Joe Scarborough and the Democrats saying that's a lie, that's a lie, that's a lie. You have people like Ann Wagner, my congresswoman from right here. She's going to come on in a couple hours saying, no, it's not a lie. So what is the truth in the middle there a little bit? Is there nuance? What is your take on that?
Look, there's billions of dollars that goes in healthcare costs every year to treat people who don't have papers. That's just a fact. It's a federal law since 1986 that if anybody in America who shows up in an emergency room gets to be cared for.
They get treated. Yeah.
Those emergency rooms build a state or federal government for it. So money is fungible. The other thing is that several of these states have. You go to their websites, and it says right on there, citizen status is not a barrier to getting Medicare or Medicaid. It says it in black and white. I was talking to my colleagues about this. I think the Democrats have a principled argument. It's a New Testament argument, if you will. These people are here, however they got here. That's a separate issue. But of course, they need medical care, and if they're poor, they have to get it. And who else can pay for it but the government? But that's not the argument the Democrats are making. They just prefer to gaslight people about it. I actually think they have a humane argument, but they're not making it. They're just spinning. They're just spinning and accusing the Republicans of lying when they are themselves lying. And I find it very disheartening. Do you remember this, Mark? In 2019, so 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. The Democrats were all lined up. They were running for president, including Joe Biden. Would your health care plan take care for people who are not in the country legally? Every Democrat raised their hand.
Right.
They've gone they've gone in 6 years from bragging about this policy, which again, I think they have an argument, a humane argument, to bragging about it, to saying it's not their policy and the Republicans are lying when they say it. It's disheartening because the political discourse around this is so dishonest. And I blame the Democrats more than the Republicans on that.
So is it because AOC says, no, this isn't about me? The other thing the Republicans are saying, this is Schumer, who voted for the CR in the spring. He's worried about his primary next year with AOC in the Senate race.
That's right. When she says it's not about me, I know what she means. That's a nice phrase, but in one way, it's all about her. And that's what Mike Johnson said, the speaker. He said that Schumer had sort of orchestrated this shutdown for personal reasons, and what he meant was his personal political fortunes. I don't think it's enough to save him, but if he can't keep the government open because he's worried about a primary, in some very literal way, Mark, he's no longer the Democratic Party leader, is he, in the Senate? Right. Somebody else is.
Yeah. Well, that might be the reality of where we are right now. So I don't know how it ends. Is there a possibility, because these Obamacare subsidies are in the mix as well, and those don't really expire. They shouldn't be in the conversation for the CR, but the Democrats want to make that part of the conversation. So are they looking for the president to make a commitment, or Republicans to make a commitment to, doing something on that before the end of the year?
I actually think you're right. That's a separate issue. There's some overlap, but that's where if you're looking for a way out, that's the face-saving way out for both sides, because the way they've spoken about each other in these memes with sombreros and everything, I mean, they're digging themselves in so that neither side can cave. Right. But on the Obamacare subsidies, there's room, and the room for the compromise is, because remember, this was all passed in the big, beautiful bill. Right. The Democrats all voted against it. It's not like to be fair to the Democrats, it's not like they had a change of heart. They weren't for it before. They voted against it. They still, and now they're trying to get a clawback for a law that just took effect. That's power politics. That's okay. But the question here is, where is that money going? Those subsidies for Obamacare. Is it really going to people, working class people who live in states, rural states, and they need this to sign up for the exchanges? There's some of that. Or is it going to these insurance companies? There's a study out that shows that some 12 million people are signed up for the subsidies, for the exchanges, who never went to a doctor last year. Now, they obviously went to a doctor, but they didn't use this insurance. So is that fraud? Is that insurance brokers signing people up without them knowing about it? Is it people have other insurance? The face-saving way out of this government shutdown, to me, is the Trump administration and the Democrats agree they'll get the fraud out of the system, but keep some of the money, give some of the money back for the exchanges, for the subsidies of Obamacare, for the people who really need it. If you were actually trying to govern instead of just score political points and, be a jerk, that's where the compromise area is. And that's where they would be talking.
And one of the difficulties on that is, just trying to figure out where the money is going. And even the Wall Street Journal, I believe it was the Journal earlier this week, talked about how there's a fair amount of these people out there who have employer plans that are more expensive, so they're staying on the exchange. They have a plan that could be, used, but if you're paying $77 a month, which is where it took you down to with the plan from several years ago. And now we're talking about essentially doubling that. It's like $154 a month. It's still very reasonable for healthcare, but you can see why people would make those choices. Carl, always great to have you on. We'll see if this thing gets wrapped up quickly. Have a great weekend.
You too, Mark.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, there was an earlier accident on eastbound 70 at Goodfellow, and we still have some volume through there. So just take care. Eastbound slower than it usually would be, and westbound has the usual volume out there. Now, 6440 is lined up. It's still moderate volume. Kings Highway out through McCausland, a little bit of 270 at the Boone Bridge and out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Still moderate volume on southbound 270, but that's Page down through Doherty Ferry, and 55 is slowing at Bates. We still look good on the bridges downtown. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No pain, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Before I met these lawyers, I was kind of spinning my wheels. After I met these lawyers, they gave me a sense of worth, self-worth. When someone's fighting for you, it just makes you feel like you're not alone no more. My lawyer gave me my life back.
Visit MissouriLawyersHelp.org to learn more. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Brought to you by the Missouri Bar.
Welcome to Coffee House. How are you today?
Hi, great, thanks. May I get a sea salt caramel latte with almond milk, extra caramel, extra shot, iced,
Gross.
and to go, please. Did you get all that?
No, I was just ringing you up for all the extras. Can you repeat your order, please?
Oh, never mind. I'm just going to go.
Stop paying extra for extras. Get fancy coffee without the fancy coffee price at Quick Trip. Raise your coffee bar.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show this afternoon is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, Heating and Air Conditioning, Electric and Plumbing.
Real talk, today's issues. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'd be the first to admit that there's a fair amount of hypocrisy on both sides of the political aisle. But honestly, in the past couple of weeks, ever since the Jimmy Kimmel thing, I think I've spat Diet Coke out of my nose listening to the CNN gang, in particular MSNBC, crying about censorship in the First Amendment. And my next guest, who has written about this, Edward Ring, had a great paragraph. And I'm going to read this before I welcome him in. To those of us who followed the systemic suppression of unapproved content, it seems incredible that anyone can believe our mainstream news sources, pundits and journalists working for PBS, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the list goes on, who are now proclaiming we have entered an era of unprecedented authoritarian censorship. This is a brazen lie, but people believe it. Edward Ring is a senior fellow at the Center for American Greatness. We just kind of talked about this with Carl Cannon. I mean, you repeat things long enough and you have the help of the legacy media, Edward, and then people start believing it, right?
Well, they not only believe it, but they're not receptive to any evidence. They just kind of have been conditioned to shut you down if you try to present, what is just overwhelming evidence that this has been going on, and frankly, going on with more intensity, more repressive intensity for 10 years on our side. And they simply can't imagine that actually happened.
And it's not just a theory. It happened. Now there's been an admission by Google that it happened. Now, you said in your piece that you had a conversation with someone who is maybe a little bit more in the middle or left of center, and you heard that person basically saying the same thing, right? That, this is a situation where Trump is taking away free speech. This is the worst thing that's ever happened. This country's never going to be the same, blah, blah, all this stuff, right?
I did. And this is somebody who's educated, intelligent, fairly open-minded, but absolutely unexposed to the other side. And, another form of conditioning that has been happening is they don't even want, they've been conditioned to figure that anything that's presenting this alternative view of what's happened over the last decade is lying. And so they don't even want to look at it. So, you really have a hard time reasoning with somebody like that. And these are not bad people either. They just have never been exposed to the other side of the story.
And this is what gets very frustrating for me, because I have people in my world. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that the people in my universe lean more to the left than they do to the right. I have a lot of friends in the entertainment business. We choose not to talk about politics. I've only lost a couple of friendships here in the past couple of years, but unfortunately those were painful. But what I say, and I've used my sister every once in a while engages on things, and she's definitely left of center, but she's sane. She's not like AOC or anything. But when I try to convince her of trying to look through a different lens, I say, don't take my word for it as a conservative talk show host. Okay, take my stuff out of the mix. But how about look at Yuri Berliner, who was an insider at NPR, and he was the guy that decided to expose it all. Okay, how about, and you mentioned these two guys, Mike Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi. I read Matt Taibbi for decades in Rolling Stone with his climate change alarmism and all this other crap, right? And then they realized that they were at the center of what they called the censorship industrial complex. And finally, along with a couple other people who were very liberal out there, Sasha Stone is another one. She came from Hollywood. I know Sasha, that said, we can't do this. And they tried to expose it. And even when it was happening in real time, and most of us knew it was happening, the legacy media didn't want to cover it.
They didn't. There's also Barry Weiss with the New York Times. And, these folks got before Congress and presented mountains of evidence. And, so it wasn't just the social media companies. It was the government was. Now, I think they would have enthusiastically done this anyway, but the government was putting a lot of pressure on them at the same time. And that came out later. But 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 5 years ago, when this all got really in motion, we thought it was just the liberals running the social media companies. And as it turns out, they were doing that in complicity and in many cases under pressure from the State Department, people in the government.
And that's outrageous. I mean, you want to talk about free speech issues, right? That's unbelievable. And the level of suppression was outrageous. But you also point out that some of this was deplatforming, right? So there were people that were taken off of YouTube or Twitter. One of the reasons that Elon Musk got involved is because he was pissed off that the Babylon Bee, which is a satirical site, was yanked off of Twitter. But then there was also, you described, the next level of suppression was denial of membership services. So what does that mean?
Well, that's right. I mean, the shadow ban was the start, where you wouldn't have any presence in the feed and they would delete your subscribers. And this is countless examples of that. But they would also demonetize you, where they would take away your ability to float ads into Google, with the Google AdSense program. And then they would just throw you off the platform completely. But then there were all of the membership things. There was the Apple Store, there was Apple Podcasts, there was Spotify, and people got thrown out of there. Then there's the support networks, financial support networks like Patreon and GoFundMe. And when they threw people out, which they did, hundreds and hundreds of people were thrown out of those projects. You lose your whole base of support. Yeah. If you have 500,000 people giving you a monthly $5 a month, all of a sudden you have zero people and you have to go to a new processor and start all over. But then the back end of that, the PayPal and Stripe, those are the payment processors, behind the interface. They all have to go through that to get into your bank. They started throwing people off. And then WordPress actually deleted accounts. ISPs deleted Parler. WordPress deleted the conservative Treehouse, which had 1 million views, a month, which is not bad, 1 million to 1.5 million views. The video platforms, JW Player, which Prager started using because they didn't want to rely on YouTube, JW Player canceled their application. So you're seeing applications, ISPs, banks, payment processors, payment aggregators, podcasts, Apple Store, all of them participated in this, and it's all very well documented.
Yeah, well, that's an important point, because this isn't just an accusation, even though, there were certainly accusations that started all this, but now it has been proven and admitted to. So I don't know what the answer is to get people to look at some of these things. Look, I think that we would both, Edward, admit that a lot of this is just simply about Trump. If Trump's involved, they don't care. That a lot of people don't want to look at a different perspective here. But what frustrates me is the legacy media, because they should at least, and they're not, and the dishonesty is just incredible, even in the last few days with the government shutdown. They cannot bring themselves to put any of this into perspective in any effort to be fair. They don't really care about that, which is why Barry Weiss is doing what she's doing at the Free Press. And I think it's really, really good. But I think they simply don't care that the double standard exists. They have to be aware of the double standard. They don't care because of Trump.
Well, you're right. And that extends to a lot of other policies that are, really a return to sanity. And you would think that Democrats would have, and the media, of course, would have more interest in policies that make sense, whether or not they're because of, Trump's support. But we don't see any of that. We in fact don't see any alternative. All we have from the left nowadays is Trump is bad. In California, all we have is Newsom is bad. In all of these cases, the media and the Democrats, that's their entire platform. Trump is bad. Newsom is bad. It doesn't. I don't know. It's the whole idea that you personify this instead of looking at the actual substance of the policies and the actual things that really happened is very troubling.
Yeah, it's really troubling. I don't think it's getting any better. You mentioned in your column, is it pronounced Andy? No, it's NGO. I follow him. He's got a ton of followers on Twitter, but that was a guy who was censored quite a bit when all this was happening, right?
He was censored. He was also beat up a couple of times. He had to leave Portland, his
Right.
hometown, and no one knows where he is right now for his own protection. And, that goes back to, they're pretending that Antifa, that there's just one block of disruptive behavior, and it's really just because of ICE, and it's all very recent. They've been burning down, and attacking buildings in Portland for many years, certainly going back to 2020. And the media will not acknowledge that, even though it's obvious that this has been going on. And if you look at any alternative media, if you talk to anybody that's on the scene that's willing to give you the true story about what's going on, and again, it's all very well documented because we have iPhones and we have cameras nowadays, and they're date-stamped videos, and you can see the chaos and mayhem that's been going on for years. On a very wide scale in Portland, and they're pretending, and the whole media is complicit in this, that it's something that's very recent and very limited.
It's really unbelievable. There's so many of these things. Look, I talk about, and we've covered, obviously, because we were the nucleus for a lot of this nonsense with defund the police because of Mike Brown and Ferguson in 2014. But if you watch, I always tell people, if you watch The Fall of Minneapolis, Liz Collin, who was a journalist in Minneapolis who did this documentary. I can't remember her partner's name. You watch the first 10 or 15 minutes of that documentary. I don't know if you have, Edward, but you'll come away with a completely different perspective on that entire situation. And we were never shown those videos from inside the convenience store. They were just, is that censorship or an unwillingness on the part of the legacy media to tell the truth, or both? That's outrageous.
Well,
and that's how these stories get out there.
It's censorship by omission, which
Right.
is a very powerful form of censorship. If you select your what you're going to report very carefully to support your point of view, you can get away with a lot without actually lying. They lie as well, but it's just one level up in terms of sophistication. You just pick and choose what you're going to report on, and you can tell any story you want.
I've talked about media bias for a long time, and you are absolutely right. I've really focused on how they do that, and it's just, it's an underhanded way of not being truthful with the story. And sometimes that, maybe it's not even the reporter that's doing it, but it's the editor, and it runs up the chain, which is even more troubling. Edward Ring, he's at the Center for American Greatness. Great stuff. Thank you, Edward, so much for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you. Anytime.
Appreciate it. We have a Thursday edition of Sue's News, which is coming up in the next hour. I got to get to traffic here, and we're doing things just a little differently here this afternoon. So let me see if I can do this. I don't know if I'm going to get Sue. I'm going to do my best here, Sue. Let's see. Testing.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Thank you. I know it's a pain.
I got
All right. We have eastbound 70 lined up, and it's just because of an earlier accident. at Goodfellow, but things never really recovered. So there's some slow-moving traffic there in both directions. Then westbound past the airport, some moderate volume, and then in pockets out through Wentzville. Southbound 170 traffic is pretty slow, and that's Olive through 64. And if you're taking 6440 out of downtown, it's approaching Kings Highway out past McCausland, slowing again at 270. Moderate volume from there in pockets out through the 64 split. And southbound 270, slow pockets of moderate volume approaching Page down through Doherty Ferry. It's a little slow at Gravois. And now some volume eastbound on the Poplar Street Bridge, kind of coming off of the bridge and headed towards 64. And then things actually look better. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Climate Masters. We specialize in older homes. Climate Masters Heating and Cooling. Trusted heating and cooling installation and maintenance service. Keeping the St. Louis Metro comfortable since 1978. Call us today at 314-968-8383. Climate Masters.
You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis for 25 years this month. Thanks for being a part of a quarter century of engaging local talk. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Stop everything you're doing right now and ask yourself, are you currently receiving steady paychecks? What about when you're retired? Will you receive a monthly check to cover your expenses and also have some fun? Marvin Mitchell and the team at Compass Retirement Solutions calls this mailbox money. It's a monthly check you'll receive throughout retirement. They don't want you to worry about if the money will show up or how much money you'll receive. The only thing they want you to think about is how to spend it when it arrives. Find out how to get enough money in your mailbox every month when you're retired. Call Marvin Mitchell and the Compass Retirement Solutions team at 314-373-1598 to start working on a plan that can help you create the monthly income you'll need in retirement. Call 314-373-1598 right now and schedule a visit with Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois.
Make the most of fall and have an outdoor space that you actually love that's built to last. Lakeside Renovation and Design builds custom decks, screened-in porches, covered patios, and they use these durable, low-maintenance materials like composite decking and aluminum railings. They're going to make sure you have the perfect setup so you can host your family and friends for backyard barbecues or just sit outside and enjoy the morning coffee even when it's raining. Don't wait until the spring to start planning the space that you want to enjoy next year. Start with a free consultation. Visit lakesiderd.com, lakesiderd.com.
You hear that? That's the sound of your business losing money. Legacy phone systems weren't built for today's teams. Quo, formerly OpenPhone, gives your business a smarter way to stay connected. Quo lets you manage calls, texts, voicemail, and contacts all in one place so that you can deliver a seamless customer experience from ring to... Need to take calls on the go? Quo automatically transcribes, summarizes, and highlights next steps from every call so you never miss a detail. Need insight into what closes a sale? With Quo's AI call tags, you can instantly spot key topics like objections or pricing questions and use those insights to level up every customer interaction. And yes, you can bring your existing number with you for free. Keep your team in sync and your customers happy with Quo. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Try Quo for free at quo.com/free and get 20% off your first 6 months. That's quo.com/free. QUO.com/free.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, we were talking about Andy No, who is a great independent journalist. He's out there on the X, formerly Twitter. But listen to what happened in Portland last night. I don't know what the hell is going on in some of these cities, especially with the cops. I always want to support the cops, but listen to this journalist who said she's attacked. Antifa, you know, is running wild there, and she tells her story.
Last night, I got assaulted, and I immediately ran to a Portland police officer and said, "This is my assault suspect." 3 officers just standing there watching me try to hunt down this suspect. And imagine my anger when I go online after doing all of that about an hour ago, and I see Portland police put out a bolo asking for the public's help in identifying my assault suspect. The Trump administration needs to start treating Antifa like ISIS, the terrorists that they are, and put an end to them here for good.
Well, I think they're not too far away from that. And then there's this. I have to share this afternoon. And, you know, I do this feature, and it's going to come up here in about 2 hours, audio cut of the day. I've done it for many, many years, trying to, you know, pick the one audio cut, or sometimes I cheat and I have 2 or 3 that really stand out. And there's never a lack of audio. This one could maybe be video if we had the video component worked in, because this takes place at a school board meeting in Davis, California, where the school board lectured teenage girls that they should feel comfortable undressing in front of boys. So there was a parent who is named Beth Bourne. There's a funny little title for this about the Bourne identity on hotair.com. But she is the chair of the Yolo County chapter of Moms for Liberty. So she goes up to the microphone at this school board meeting, and she starts to strip during the public comment. And you'll hear, I'm going to play the audio of what it sounded like, but she starts taking her blouse off, and she just starts basically telling the school board what's happening, making her points, but she's stripping the whole time.
I'm here today to talk about the policies you have for the locker rooms in the junior high schools. So Emerson, Holmes, Harper Junior High. Right now we require our students to undress for PE class. So I'm just going to give you an idea what that looks like when I undress. So right now, this school district is saying that depending on a child's transgender identity.
Now, I just want to stop right here, because when this is happening, and I'll fill in the blanks here on the play-by-play with the video, the look of horror from the board members is just awesome. And it's not unlike what happens. We play this audio over the years. In fact, I've featured it as audio cut of the day. When you have parents that are up there, and this is very similar, at a school board meeting, and they read verbatim from the books that the school board has approved for 7- and 8-year-old kids or something like that, and it's content that they're too embarrassed to hear at a school board meeting. That's always fun, but this is similar.
They can pick which bathroom they want. So we have, right now at this school district, we have children self-identifying into different bathrooms just based off of their... No, you cannot. I have my bathing suit on. Excuse me, this is allowed.
We're going to recess.
I'm going to finish my comments, or you are violating my First Amendment right.
Oh, my gosh. So she, actually, it happened twice in the same meeting. And you could hear, she did have a bathing suit on. So the board took a break the first time. She came back to the podium to finish her remarks. She began to remove her top again, and the trustees shut the meeting down altogether until the cops came and removed her from the room. Now the board, according to reporting, wants to explore options with what they say are the inappropriate actions by Ms. Bourne. One of the trustees told the newspaper that's reporting on this, the Vanguard, that the board is now considering its next steps. We're going to be meeting about this, about what to do in such situations. I know our superintendent is going to be speaking with council to see what can be done, because it's very inappropriate for anyone to be coming before the board and behaving in such a manner. Are you kidding me? So a grown woman comes to the board to speak her piece about the shenanigans that are going on with these poor girls who are forced to strip down, not to their bathing suits, right? Not to their bathing suits. So that's inappropriate for Ms. Bourne to go up there. But the position that the parents can't even object when their teenage and pre-teenage daughters have to disrobe in front of boys and be present when they get naked, that's cool. That's fine. Nothing's wrong with that whatsoever. Ed Morrissey wrote about this on hotair.com earlier today. I mean, that's outrageous, right? But here again, this would be a good situation for the legacy media to actually cover a story and put it into the perspective that normal everyday Americans would see this through. I mean, that's what's so absurd about this, because they won't even report on this in the legacy media because it doesn't fit their narrative, right? So she goes up there, and she, by the way, Ms. Bourne says she's exploring her legal options as well. She says she's tried for 3 years to get her point about how the Davis School Board leaves girls vulnerable to predators without any change of policy. You know who she needs to talk to? J.K. Rowling. She's pretty good on these issues.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
I heard from Alex Rosenberger at MasterCars Inc. Even a couple of days ago. He had a great reference from someone listening to this show. So I appreciate that. And I would encourage any of you out there who are in the market for a car, even if you think you're in the market for a new car, let me talk you out of that. Because if you go to MasterCars and you have a make and model in mind, and I have a Toyota 4Runner, my wife drives that. So let's say that that's the vehicle you're looking at. I've had 3 Toyotas over the course of my life, 2 4Runners. I love that vehicle. It's one of my favorites. And you tell Alex and Gary, all right, that TRD Pro off-road, which I have, that's a little too expensive. How about we get it with 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 miles, but it still looks great? That's what they can do for you at MasterCars Inc. They have a lot of motorcycles. They have a lot of Corvettes, a lot of classic cars, including a 67 Plymouth Belvedere on the lot right now, but they can find vehicles for you. They're experts. This is what they do. They have so much passion for what they do, and I'll never buy a car the old way again. They get you financed, all the same stuff. You just aren't going to get stuck in a finance office like you will at a regular car dealership, asked to buy this package and that package. It's very consolidated. MasterCarsInc.com. Tell them that I sent you along.
When it comes to affordable term life insurance, everyone's whistling the Big Lou tune. If you're over 50, maybe a bit porky, or have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost about $200 a month. Even if you're not in perfect health, call Big Lou, because he specializes in finding big chunks of affordable term life insurance for just about everyone. Don't let diabetes or other health glitches keep you from owning $500,000 to $1 million or more of term life insurance. For affordable term life insurance, call Big Lou. Don't hesitate. Call 800-700-6898, 800-700-6898, or visit biglou.com.
Call Big Lou, don't hesitate. 800-700-6898. Call Big Lou, don't hesitate. 800-700-6898. Visit biglou.com.
Mark Cox here. My thanks to Rhino Shield for sponsoring our 25th year anniversary celebration. Listen, there's still plenty of time to call today to get your free evaluation for Rhino Shield for a fall installation. You get a 25-year transferable warranty. It is the best investment I've made in a long time. It's beautiful. It's durable. Get Rhino Shield today. Call them for your free evaluation at 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. That's right, weight loss seminar at the Marriott St. Louis West in St. Louis at 11 a.m. Registration 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Layoffs are coming. Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's what the White House keeps warning as a government shutdown continues. Fox's Peter Ducey reads a post from the president about a meeting with his budget chief
to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people. So maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again.
Democrats in Congress blame Republicans for the shutdown as they argue for health care issues to be addressed and accuse Republicans of lying about Democrats wanting taxpayer-funded health care to cover illegal immigrants. Delaware Senator Chris Coons telling Fox,
I want a path forward where we reverse some of Trump's cuts to health care and we reverse some of the ways that health insurance costs are going through the roof. And that's what I'm looking for, is a good faith negotiation about how do we do that.
Republicans say policy differences can be addressed once short-term spending is approved to end the shutdown. Police in Manchester, England, just confirming a third suspect in custody after a man attacked people outside a synagogue earlier today, killing 2, wounding 4. That man drove his car into a crowd and then started stabbing people, and he was shot and killed by police. He's now identified as a UK citizen of Syrian descent, but 3 other suspects have been arrested on suspicion of terrorism-related charges. The attack happening on Yom Kippur, the holiest day on the Jewish calendar.
The attack in Manchester this morning is absolutely shocking, and all of our thoughts are with those affected.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer sending more security to synagogues across the country. America is listening to Fox News.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Weather patterns still in a slow motion process, but things are starting to move, but no major changes until the middle of next week. Partly cloudy skies this evening and overnight. Evening temperatures taking that drop out of the 80s into the upper 70s. Still low humidity, 68 for the overnight low. Friday, sunny skies, 88 Friday night. Clear skies, 67 the first weekend of October. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I don't know if this is going to develop into a story, but at the top of the hour, Fred, you know this, I'm always, scrolling through the X, formerly Twitter. And there was an interesting video that just got uploaded from, let's see which account this is, a guy by the name of Cam Higbee. And I don't know who that is, Rob Smith. I follow Rob. He reposts it. So African-American conservative Rob Smith, very outspoken. But there's a video, and what it appears to be is a civil discussion that is taking place between 2 white kids, maybe more than 2. The camera might not have caught all of them, with MAGA hats on, okay, sitting at a table with a microphone in front of them. They have microphones, doing kind of a Charlie Kirk thing, trying to have a conversation about, and this happened to be, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Tennessee State University is a historically black, university.
They're an HBCU.
Right, exactly. So 2 white kids. It was very civil. I watched, the conversation. They asked questions back and forth. And then in the middle of the video, and this is when you walked in, I was watching this, it just started getting hot. And I'm not sure there was anything that really set off the people. There was a small group that was around the table. It looked like maybe only a dozen people. Well, then someone went and grabbed their signs. And then it started getting out of control. And then you had people threatening the white kids. And there were cops that were there that were, basically trying to keep things from getting worse. But it's just outrageous. And if you watch the video, and maybe I'll send this to you, Ethan, for tomorrow, and we can dig into it a little bit. The white kids didn't do anything wrong, right? They're just sitting there trying to have the conversation. Even when things start to get heated and there's a bit of the tweet that I'm looking at says it was, I don't think it's a riot, but it's the mob starts to grow and it gets out of control. So that's something that I kind of watched at the top of the hour. I have to mention the anniversary party because we're going to be a big part of this. I was in Milwaukee in 2000. The radio station 97.1 FM Talk started in October of 2000. And we're going to celebrate our 25th anniversary party with some VIP tickets available as well. If you want to come for free, you can do that, but you have to RSVP at 971talk.com/events. It's coming up Thursday, October 23rd. Is today Thursday? I believe it is.
It is.
Right? So is that 3 Thursdays from now? I'm never good at that math. Or is it 4? 1, 2, 3. 3 Thursdays from now. Fred knew the answer. He just didn't want to make me look bad.
Say the date again?
October 23rd.
You want to know how old I was?
When?
In October
2000?
of 2000.
You were a month old.
I was barely a month old.
Yeah, right. Because you just had your birthday that we forgot about. Right. So the party's going to be on that Thursday at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, indoor and outdoor. It's over by where the factory is. We're going to do our show live from 3 to 6 p.m. I'm told that we'll be hijacked a little bit in the middle of the show for some, things that are specific to the anniversary. Now, the VIP tickets, I think we're undercharging for the VIP tickets because they're only $30.
We're for the people, Mark.
Well, that's you can't get a ticket for anything for $30 these days. That includes 2 drinks, a cigar cutter, appetizers. That's pretty good, right? Why is there no cannabis sponsor at this thing? That's what I would ask. Cox gets the cigar sponsor. I can't bring in a cannabis sponsor and have some pre-rolls handed out. That I'm just saying, wouldn't that be fair? I don't think that's good. And you know what's funny about that comment? You know what the band is that's going to play that night? The singer, Pretty Weeds. Come on,
there you
man.
go. There's it is for you. That's that's your comp.
Yeah, I think I might get kicked out of the FCC still, basically polices us, and the federal laws involving marijuana are a little different than the state laws, as I think people know. We got to thank the sponsors: Rhino Shield, U.S. Men's Medical Center, Lore Wine and Spirits, Old Dominic Distillery, and Rayburn Wines. And we're doing a lot of work this year with Guns and Hoses, and there's going to be some partners on site, including the St. Louis Young Republicans, the St. Charles County Republican Central Committee, the St. Louis County Republican Central Committee. Fred, I know that you and Ethan have been working behind the scenes to a certain extent. We're getting Kenny Wallace referenced this yesterday.
We?
Well, I think you're taking, people are giving the happy birthday 97.1 FM Talk greetings.
Oh, yeah, that's
You're
right.
recording those, right?
We're working on those.
Yeah, well, I wasn't making that up.
A couple of Jimmy
Kenny
Fallon
Wallace
ones have been airing today. So we have a bunch of them. We're going to get, I think, more coming in.
Did we have Jennings do one?
I think we did have Jennings do one, didn't we?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so that should be up there soon. Kenny Wallace's, I'm sure, will be up there soon. Ryan Wiggins has a bunch of them.
Well, we should have a bunch of them. I was not consulted on that. I bet I give some. We should have Ted Nugent do one.
Brian Kilmeade.
Well, we should have Uncle Ted do one, Fred. Don't you think?
Bet he would.
Sure.
Be great.
Will you remind me? Send me an email about that, and I'll get with him. And I know he'll do it. It's just a matter of making sure he's not in the woods. Honestly, I mean, I'm just being honest.
Right.
At this time of year, it's hunting season.
No,
so.
but for real, it's a great opportunity to come and meet Annie Fry, Mark Reardon, Mark Cox, and to come and celebrate 25 years of 97.1 with us. So go get the tickets.
Yeah, it's an interesting. We had a meeting today, and Fred, you know how much I love meetings, and I wasn't even sure.
Guy.
It was the big boss here, Becky Damian, who's our big boss, and Steve Moore is our boss. So Annie and Mark and I had been invited to this meeting. And, we didn't really know what it was about. It was actually all positive. We were talking about some things in the future, and she was just updating us. But it's never, it's never quite clear sometimes what's going to be said. But this radio station, what I wanted to say, and I kept my mouth shut during this discussion, but I've said it before, and I'll say it again here on the air, is, look, I like to think that I've worked for 3 legendary heritage news talk stations, and I'm including KFRU in Columbia, even though it's a small market. But it was if you go back to the 80s in particular, when I got my start in radio, we all depended on radio because there wasn't a whole lot out there, right? And there was AM talk radio, there wasn't FM talk radio. We all had to get school closings from the radio. I remember listening to KMOX, Fred, and I was in Parkway, so that took a while to get to that one. But we treated media obviously very different back then. So I worked for KFRU. I worked for WTMJ in Milwaukee, which is a huge station. I mean, the media landscape has changed. It was TMJ stands for the Milwaukee Journal, which was the company that took over the Sentinel, became the Journal Sentinel. But that was a big station, Packers flagship. We had the Bucks, we had the Badgers, we had the Brewers. I mean, everybody came on WTMJ, right? And this was in the early 2000s when this station was just getting on the air. Then I come in 2006 and I worked at KMOX. One of the biggest stations in the country, right? One of the biggest. Fred, you've been there for all these years. So they call me when I'm about to hit golf balls. I'm at Family Golf. I remember this. I'm in my car. It's February, I think. and it's Steve and Becky on the phone at the same time.
What
and
year?
I didn't think I was going to get fired on the phone.
This year.
No, this was 5 years ago.
5 years.
5 years
Okay,
ago.
okay.
So, I referenced that meeting this
okay.
morning. No, they call me. I'm about to hit golf balls. And they say, are you ready for this? We're going to flip the shows. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? We're going to take your show that's on in the afternoon from 2 to 5 at that time on KMOX. I followed Rush Limbaugh. And we're going to put your show on 97.1 FM Talk. And we're going to take Dave Glover, who is in this time slot, and we're going to put it to KMOX. Now, I'm just going to give you my perspective on that particular phone call. I was thrilled. I could not have been happier in that moment. And I was so glad that I landed on 97.1 because to a certain extent, it was always going to be my destiny in a weird way. Because truth be told, in the early 2000s, now this, you brought the newspaper clippings in a couple of weeks ago. This station started very different than, we are right now, and that it evolved to, because they had Clark Howard, Dr. Laura, who else was on? There were a bunch of like syndicated hosts. They did that thing at night with Delilah, I think. Wasn't that on 97.1 at the time? Because they were trying to appeal to women mainly. So then, and I don't know when the decision was made, but the guy that was running 97.1 FM Talk was someone, I mean, stupid to not use his name. He's not here anymore. Jeff Allen, who I did mornings with in Columbia, Missouri. And even before Jamie Allman was the morning guy, I think he was the original morning guy on this, edition of the radio station. Jeff had called me in Milwaukee about maybe, hey, do you want to talk about working on 97.1? I'm like, well, I always kept our conversations open. And this would happen. Like every time Glover's contract was up, they called me. This is a true story. Hey, would you like to sit down? And I always kept the lines of communication open. And then it was just weird because Fred and I worked for CBS, which was then bought by Entercom because CBS ditched all the radio properties. And then we ended up Entercom, which became Odyssey, bought several other stations that were in a different radio group, Hubbard. And that's where this incarnation of the radio station has been. But obviously it's had some great talent over the years and a lot of success. But what I was going to say is kind of circling back to my Heritage radio station comments is, and this is just the truth, I've done personal appearances for my entire radio career from different stations, live remotes. I've never, ever, even after working at 2 monster 50,000 watt AM Heritage stations, I've never seen an audience that is so loyal, that is informed, that wants to engage, that shows up at events. And we have a smaller audience than those big stations, which bring in big numbers for a shorter time. But I have been for 5 years blown away by the response. And Fred, you've seen it when we have Kill Meet in town. The listeners, they know everything about us. They know you, they know Sue, they know Ethan, they pay attention, they listen. They may not always like us, right? Because different opinions, but it's a unique radio station. And I've done this my whole life. And I'm just telling you that you guys out there are unique. And that's what keeps us going. And it's special. So we're going to have a great birthday celebration. We'll get some of those past voices on the air. They said, well, we got to have Glover. Glover's a big part of this. I said, I'll have Glover on the show. I don't care. Dave and I get along. So we'll,
it's great.
It's KFTK has just really loyal listeners. And every day I'm learning of new listeners, even in my neighborhood. When I'm walking Luna around the neighborhood, people will come up and say, hey, I know you work at KFTK, and then they'll just start talking to me. And it's like, why? I didn't know that. Well, yeah, we listen all the time.
Well, I had almost been killed by that city bus the other night. So
Yeah.
I told that story when this is a true story. I was at this red light at 14th and Market, and it was a green light for me. And this bus comes barreling through. Well, I let a couple of people over at Metro in the leadership, know about this. And the one guy responded today and said, yeah, I don't want to out him because maybe he doesn't want people knowing he listens to my show. But he said, yeah, I listen every afternoon. I still think that the Doug High story is really funny.
That is good.
So one time, I don't know Wesley Bell. I've never met Wesley Bell. I've never had him on the show, I don't think, right? When he was St. Louis County prosecutor. Now, of course, he's a member of Congress. He took over for Cori Bush. So when he did some freshman orientation earlier this year, they're at Harvard University. And Doug High is a former spokesperson for the RNC. He's a Republican consultant. He's been a guest on the show many, many times. He's got a very distinct voice. He's got a very deep, Doug's got a radio voice, right? He's got a better voice than I do, that's for sure. So he goes up and he introduces himself to Wesley and says, I'm Doug High. And Wesley Bell says to him, according to Doug, he says, oh yeah, I know who you are. I hear you on Mark Reardon show all the time. I'm like, hey, there you go. We got a
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I thought that was a fun story. So anyway, I guess that's my way of saying we have deep appreciation for our audience, and we can't look. I say this sometimes, and I wish I was exaggerating. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no other skills. I cannot do anything else. So I cannot make a living if I'm not opening my flap on the radio. I would be homeless. I'd be over in this park probably right now, and the cops would be shooing me off.
You're a professional mouth flapper.
Right. But what I mean is that I can't do what I do without that support and without the sponsor support. We had Susan O'Ward in yesterday. So all of these things will be celebrated at our birthday party here in a few weeks.
One other thing about our sponsors. All of our sponsors that we have on the air are great talkers. They know their business and they can tell it to us and to our listeners. It's great.
Yeah. And the thing that I love about the sponsors is that the passion that they have. You're right, though, Fred. A lot of them are, look, a lot of these people have been doing it for a long time, like the Gelmans and Morelli Tuck Pointing, and the list goes on.
George Rosenthal with ThrottleNet.
Right. Well, George is awesome. He's great, too. But you're right. They're experts in their own way on their topics, and they're very passionate. Susan is a good example of that. Susan O'Ward, who came on yesterday. So, yeah, it's a unique little community that we have. And I'm always, the one thing that I don't know, and I do hear from lefties every once in a while, but Fred, you know this, like when I was on Camel X, I was attacked all the time. I couldn't barely get off the air. My voicemail was flush with hatred that I just deleted. I could always tell if there was like a 2.5 minute, 3 minute voicemail that was from someone that hated me, and I would just delete. Now that doesn't, happen on this radio station. I don't get as much vitriol and hate. It usually comes on Twitter if I say something on that platform. But we have moderate lefties, I think, that listen. They want to know what's going on, and they pay attention to this station, and we appreciate them as well. And you're all welcome at our birthday party because we'd love to see you. Sue is making her way into the building, we think. So one of the reasons Mark is talking so much right now is because I sometimes have to just be honest. We had technical difficulties. Sue very rarely does this show from home, but she had to. She's moving, she's closing on her house, but the technology failed us this afternoon, Ethan, didn't it?
It did indeed. And she's a couple of minutes from getting into studio, and we're gonna start. We're gonna
try to do Sue's news
in just a moment. Yes,
okay.
An express Sue's news version. So, Mark, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Underdog?
I'm going to talk about Underdog
Sports. We got Thursday night football.
Got
Thursday night football. Rams and Niners tonight. Should be a good ball game.
So the Rams are favored in that game by, I think, more than a touchdown, and the Niners they're not in great shape right now, even with
Purdy's out.
Health issues, right?
Jennings is out. Pearsall's out. It's basically Christian McCaffrey versus the Rams. That's basically what it is.
And I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any fantasy implications tonight. It's too bad Sue's not here because she always loves it when I talk about fantasy. But look, to Ethan's point, football is going on. You have the Major League Baseball playoffs, some games going on right now. Underdog is a lot of fun. You can play Underdog Fantasy in Missouri, and it's super easy. So if you download the app, you come up with your username and your password, and then you deposit a little money because you want to play the games that they have on Underdog. And I'm going to tell you how to get some bonus cash here in just a moment. But once you open up the app, you'll see how easy it is. And you'll see the games. Like if I go, I'm going to pull it up right now and just look at that football game for tonight, even though I won't know many of the names because Christian McCaffrey. So will he rush for more than 59.5 yards? I'm going to say, yeah, he'll go higher than that. Matt Stafford, will he pass for more than 242 yards? Yes, he will. I'll say higher on that as well. And you kind of go down the list. You don't have to only pick players from one team. You can go into the weekend and make some picks on the games. It's very fun. Download the app today. Sign up with the promo code MarkR. That scores you right now $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. Again, the promo code is MarkR. Underdog. Make plays, win money. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms. _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
This is James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak. I am excited to announce the opening of Golden Oak Premier Realty. We're your one-stop shop for financing and buying your home. Not moving, rates are low, and your home's equity is higher than ever. Refinancing with Golden Oak now can save you thousands. Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing, call Golden Oak today.
Golden Oak Landing, short my blues.
NMLS 114937.
Hey, it's Bo Matthews, and Missouri Brush Control is helping landowners reclaim their property through eco-friendly forestry mulching. Missouri Brush Control can transform your overgrown acreage into accessible and usable land, and in a fraction of the time compared to conventional methods. Missouri Brush Control also cleans up around ponds, lakes, and dams, allowing easy access to your water feature. They service residential, commercial, and recreational properties with their specialized machines and years of expertise. Enjoy your land like you've always dreamed of. Visit MissouriBrushControl.com. That's MissouriBrushControl.com.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Government shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall selling picture postcards in Kansas City to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the free market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
We know there's a lot that can go on during one night of baseball. Long home runs, epic pitching performances, catches that defy space, time, and gravity.
Climbing the wall, did he catch it? He did!
But what if you could get all of that summarized in a quick, concise, and at least we think, funny podcast that's under 10 minutes? Check out MLB.com's morning lineup. It runs Monday through Friday mornings on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you love listening most.
He's not here to play nice. He's here to make you think. Mark Reardon on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, hang on here. We're getting this to start a little bit late. We're tardy, but let's get going.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News, presented by U.S. Men's Medical Center.
Hold on. Okay. I'll tell you what, you got to give me 5 seconds to download this. All right, here we go.
This is a disaster of a show today, isn't it?
No, yeah, but it's entertaining.
Okay.
I thought what you did last was very
All right,
absorbing.
good.
People, I would like to welcome you to National Fried Scallops Day.
Oh, there you go.
I like a fried scallop.
Oh,
Fred,
I
it's
do, I do.
seafood.
Yeah,
I'm
would.
interested that
Yeah.
you like
Wait a
that.
second.
I have.
What's
I
happening?
tried it once and I liked it.
Okay, then why wouldn't you try
I don't
some
know.
other things?
Well,
So here's what I've decided. We're not only going to get Fred a new hairstyle in a couple of weeks, we're going to take him out to a seafood dinner.
I like it. I mean, you know, that makes sense to me. All right. It's also National Smarties Day, the candy.
Oh, my God, Sue. You
Uh,
know what my memory is of this?
no.
I went to, Fred, fellow Lutheran, right?
Yes.
Went to my church when I was a kid. And every Sunday, this is the only reason I think kids went to church at the time. This woman had Smarties that she handed out to the kids every Sunday. It was like the
did you
best
have
thing of my
that?
childhood.
Oh,
I think that was Wisconsin.
It was
Synod.
Wisconsin
was
Synod,
it?
yeah.
Oh, that's kind of
Yeah.
nice. No, I don't like them. When I saw it in my Halloween basket, I thought, ugh.
They're not that good.
No, they're cheap.
Yeah.
They're chalky.
But when I was
Yeah,
6
they're
years old,
Yeah, that's a
took
good
it.
point. It was free and you were
Yeah.
there. And it's National Name Your Car Day. Now, I used to do this. I don't do this anymore. Do you name your cars, Fred?
One car is red and it's called Ruby.
Okay. All
But
right.
my car is a Tucson. It's not named.
It's not named. What
Which
about
is
you,
a-
Mark Reardon?
Well, I don't name my cars, but what I have is I have an app. You guys know I have my remote app.
Yes.
And I have to name my car on there. So I called it Jaggy McJaggerton.
Okay. All right.
Because it's a Jaguar.
Well, I get that.
Yeah, there you
So
go. I
Thanks
thought
for
that was
pointing
kinda
that
funny,
out
yeah.
yet again.
I didn't know that.
I don't
didn't
bring
either.
that up very often.
That's
You know that because it's pretentious and I get it. So I don't mention the name of my car
I see.
hardly ever, but I had to do it there.
Well, that's pretty fun.
Okay.
And on this day in history, speaking of cars, I do this in honor of my own father. 66 years ago today, in 1959, Chevy debuted the Corvair, a rear-engine compact car, and my dad had one, and he would take it to car shows. And then when he passed away, I gave it to my Uncle Dick, who also had a Corvair, and then he would win awards with them, taking him different car shows. Isn't that nice?
Oh, that's really cool.
And side note, when they took us from traffic into helicopters and put us in planes because it was cheaper with the fuel, I sat in the back of this thing, and it reminded me of the Corvair. So it's a good thing we're on the ground. That's all I'm saying.
What color was it?
Oh, the Corvair, kind of like a tan. I'm sure there's an official word for it or color for it, but there was a tan one and a white one. Okay. And on this day in history, 44 years ago, in 1981, the Police released their fourth album with one of my favorite songs on it.
I can't believe that this was the fourth album in 81.
Yes.
And I was into the Police in the late 70s.
Same.
Did you go see?
I saw the original. I saw the Synchronicity tour.
Same. We were there. Yeah. Fred, were you there?
Yeah,
all three of us were at the Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's cute.
And then I went when they were here for the, whatever they called it. It was, I don't know if it was the reunion tour, but they did like.
I wasn't there for that.
It was like 10 years ago, and it wasn't as good. I've seen Sting about 7 times. Though.
Okay. Well, as you know,
I had to get it up there with the volume.
He enjoys his own body odor. I don't know.
I've been told,
yes. I don't know why. And on this day in history, okay, so that was 44 years ago. 43 years ago today, it was 1982. Then this song hit #1, and I feel like we've heard it 80,000 times.
It's a great song, though.
John
And this is when he was
Cougar
John,
Mellencamp.
but this is when he was just John Cougar, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he was, he was actually, back then he was like Little Johnny Cougar.
They
called him,
no,
they had like a nickname. I don't think he liked it very much, Little Johnny Cougar. And the first time I saw Little Johnny Cougar was warming up at the arena, and I believe it was for Heart. It might have been for Heart, but he was a warm-up.
Yeah.
I could see that.
And then I met him at the Opera House a few years later, and he was a jackass. But that's okay. His band was really cool. But
Let me guess.
Yeah.
He was smoking.
Oh, of course he was.
Oh.
Everyone was smoking back then backstage, wherever you were. Yes.
I mean, even when they have interviews on television with him, he's smoking. It's bad.
It's funny because he has the reputation of not being the most friendliest guy. And,
well, yeah.
I was witness to that. But his guitar player, and I can't remember, I think his name was Larry. I think he might still be in the band. Nicest guy ever.
Oh, that's
Came up to
nice.
me and introduced himself. And I was like a 17-year-old kid at the time.
Okay, well, that's super
had a good
nice.
experience with his band.
The 30th anniversary of Everybody Loves Raymond, they're going to do a special, and it's going to air on CBS on November 24th. So if you want to see that, they're going to have the old cast to kind of dedicate it to the two who have passed away.
Don't you think we can get Alex Rich's new buddy, Phil Rosenthal, on the air to
Phil
talk about
is
that?
yes, that's
seriously.
I think we should be able to.
Okay, we should try that.
He's involved in this thing too. And well, finally in Sue's news, let's have today's random fact. Here it is. The most abused Social Security number has been used in fraud by at least 40,000 different people. It belonged to a secretary at a wallet company. And when Social Security cards were new, the boss wanted to see how they looked in a wallet, took a picture of hers, and then everybody stole it. Because they used it in advertising.
That'll do it.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. Tesla reporting quarterly vehicle deliveries were up 7% year over year. The same day, a key tax credit for buyers of EVs in the U.S. expired. Tesla plans to update investors on its third quarter financial results on October 22nd. Taiwan is rejecting Washington's proposal to locally manufacture half the chips that it currently supplies to the United States. Taiwan officials are saying the proposal for a 50-50 split in semiconductor production wasn't even brought up. Taiwan currently faces a reciprocal tariff rate of 20%. Stocks were higher today on Wall Street, with the three major averages setting fresh record highs. The Dow up 78 points, the S&P 500 up the pace by 4, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ growing by close to 90 points. Crude oil futures for November delivery falling 1.7% below 61 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. Stroke risk may increase. Eliquis can cause serious and potentially fatal bleeding. Don't take if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or bleed longer. A spinal injection increases blood clot risk, which may cause paralysis. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or bruising, or back pain, tingling, numbness, muscle weakness, or incontinence. Aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Well, I want to talk about Generator Supercenter of St. Louis because Brad Young, I know, is inquiring about a generator from Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. I know that Tim Fitch, who is a guest on the roundtable, said that he absolutely got a generator. It's a smart thing to do. You don't want to be that person where the power goes out. And you know this is going to happen where we have extended power outages, whether it's next spring because the power grid fails or in 3 or 4 springs or summer. You know it's just around the corner. We've had things happen in Texas and around the planet. So this is going to mean you have peace of mind. You got population growth, power consumption, grid failures happening more often. Your home can be energy independent, and you can do it with a great quality generator. These are not standby generators. These are automatic generators that kick in as soon as the power goes out. And you can give yourself peace of mind right now by calling for a free estimate. You don't have to worry about calling Ameren when the power goes out. You don't have to worry about your home and the food going bad when you're away. When the power goes out, the Generac generator kicks in. So get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator today. Financing available with low monthly payments, 314-499-2020. They're in Chesterfield on the Airport Road. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial # law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If you've listened to 97.1 FM Talk, you have heard of Doug Voss of Voss Financial and Safe Money Radio, as he has been a staple as the financial expert on the station for many years. You can hear him on Safe Money Radio every Saturday at 2, right here on 97.1 FM Talk, and you can talk to Doug Voss directly. Here's his number. Call Doug at 844-676-SAFE. That is 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your voice, your values. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
This will be a good example here. There's never any media bias out there, like not even in the way they pose questions.
The Democrats' proposal is designed to prevent millions of Americans from losing their health insurance, losing Medicaid coverage, or paying higher health care premiums. Why are you against that?
That's an absurd statement.
Oh my God.
44 Senate Democrats voted to reject a clean, nonpartisan continuing funding resolution to keep the United States government open. The Democrats said instead that they wanted to give health care to illegal aliens instead of keeping critical services provided for the American citizens. That's what happened, plain and simple.
The proposal does not provide health care for illegal immigrants.
It does, actually, because what it does is it unwinds the changes that Republicans put into the big, beautiful bill, the big signature legislation that we passed and signed into law.
Curtis Houck is here, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. That was George Stephanopoulos, I believe, if I recognize the voice, wasn't it?
Yeah, Snuffleupagus.
I always loved it when Rush nicknamed him Snuffleupagus. That was one of my favorite Limbaugh nicknames for anyone. How are you, Curtis?
Doing good, my friend. I can't take credit for this, but someone said just think of, like, this is as if Stephen Miller goes from the White House to hosting Meet the Press in like 5 years. That's how absurd this is.
Yeah, look, there's so much nonsense that's going on right now. Look, I even saw a poll today about the trust in the legacy media, and it's at a rock bottom as usual. But the problem is, and this is what I discussed this with Carl Cannon earlier this afternoon. You have, with full willingness, George Stephanopoulos, The View, CBS This Morning, whatever. They're all on the talking point side, right? So Mike Johnson, a Republican perspective, like, do you think the people who are hearing the talking points like that realize what Speaker Johnson said, how there were Democrats who crossed over in the House, but certainly not enough in the Senate to get this passed? So really, who's shutting down the government?
Yeah, I think as a side note, this is a failure oftentimes of Republicans to message. And explain what's going on here, to really just hit back at this absolute nonsense, to explain. They're playing word games. It's a sleight of hand. The vice president probably had the best explanation of what's going on with the shutdown fight and the illegal immigrants and these things. What happened was all these people came in, millions of people during the Biden administration. They were processed by Alejandro Mayorkas' DHS and given court dates for, 2029 or something, and said, good luck, we'll see you then. And by doing so, that allowed them to tap into the social safety net of this country. And therefore, if something happens, we all know people go to the ER because their tummy hurts. Okay, there's all kinds of things like that happen now. You can talk to EMTs or ER nurses, and they'll tell you. The legal immigrants, they don't have any way to pay, so they just leave. And what the Democrats are doing is they're saying, no, we need to backstop this. We need to make sure the hospitals don't go out of business because, places, ERs where illegal immigrants are going to surge are sanctuary cities. So maybe that would disincentivize sanctuary cities if we said we're not actually going to backfill your medical system to prop up all of these people who shouldn't be here. So it's word games. Non-citizens was something that DeCopel floated, Tony did on CBS, and even that wasn't enough for Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of nonsense. Now let me offer some hope in a sea of legacy media ridiculousness, sadness, and disaster, because this just came out. You and I have talked about this.
Yep.
What I'm about to say could be potentially one of the biggest changes in the legacy media landscape maybe in history. Okay. Maybe, I don't know. You tell me, because it is now being reported that Paramount will announce a deal to acquire Barry Weiss's Free Press. And not only that's big enough. Okay. But Barry will be brought to help run CBS News next week. Her title will be editor-in-chief. She will report directly to David Ellison. This is a huge, huge story. And I cannot wait to see how their fellow legacy media members will report on this, because that means big changes are coming to CBS News.
Yeah, I tweeted over this news, first broken by Puck Dylan Byers, former CNN media reporter. He's been all over this, that it's going to be about Monday. They'll probably make it official and put pen to paper. This is the first sign of hope for a legacy liberal media outlet in quite a long time. And you and I have talked about on the show many times, Barry Weiss is not MAGA. No one should be confused.
No.
But the point remains, she is a sensible, sane person whom a lot of liberal journalists dislike because, let's be honest, being Jewish. That is why they don't like her in large part. And the thing I'll say is, none of this would have happened, Barry Weiss starting the Free Press and ending up now where she is at CBS News, if the loons inside the New York Times newsroom would not have had a conniption over the Tom Cotton column about sending in the National Guard to quell the BLM protests. She quit as part of that. People bullied her out of the Times, and that set her on the course for where she is now. It's truly remarkable to see the people at CBS that are going to end up rage quitting over this.
They're going to freak. They're freaking out. They've been freaking out for weeks. I can't wait either. Now, then the question then becomes, how much can she actually achieve? Because one of the things that Barry does, and to your point, Curtis, she's no, MAGA conservative, but she's offering coverage of stories in a fair way that the New York Times and CBS News and ABC, they ignore these stories. You'll see content in the Free Press, investigative pieces that are really good. We have some of the reporters on a regular basis.
Yeah,
and
Gabe
it's
Kaminsky's
good stuff.
Terrific.
Which one?
Gabe Kaminsky. He's one of our MRC Bulldog Award winners this year. He's a good friend of mine. He is an excellent reporter.
But they do it in a way that they're not allowed to do it at the New York Times, because they actually can veer from the narrative. In fact, if they find that the narrative might be a little different, they actually expose that and they report candidly. Now, I've seen plenty of criticism by Barry and the FP. And by the way, some of it's appropriate. I don't think they're doing it in a partisan hackery way. They're saying, look, there are different perspectives here. So I'm so hopeful that maybe this changes the landscape. Bernard Goldberg wrote the book Bias, I think in 1997 or 1998. Yep. He was at CBS News for decades. He was the guy that exposed Dan Rather and all the stuff that was happening there. He was like he was the original Yuri Berliner, if you will. Yuri Berliner is the guy that came out.
Yuri before
right, but he did it at CBS News. And even and I've talked about this, literally media bias for 3 decades. Even with all that out there, and even with Uri Berliner, Carl Cannon and I were talking about this earlier. A lot of people that are, in their bubbles, Curtis, they don't want to believe that there's a different perspective to some of these stories. They just don't want to believe. They don't believe it. And mainly that's because of Trump. So if CBS puts a product out there that perhaps is a little bit more fair and approaches stories in a different, sensible way, that's encouraging.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misnomers about conservatives is that we don't believe in like a free press and that we just want a media system where everyone agrees with us. And that couldn't be any further from the truth. We want a news media that simply shares all views and opinions and respects the opinions of the American people. I think that is what's so missing. And I just find it so ironic that this word leaks out today about Barry Weiss coming to take over CBS News on the same day that, as you kind of alluded to at the onset here, the Gallup poll comes out about trust in the media, all-time record low of 28%. First time it ever goes below 30. And it started in started dipping below 50 in 2004 when Dan Rather, fake but accurate, story about George W. Bush as he was running for re-election. So I just find that just deliciously ironic that really the year that caused the bottom to fall out for a lot of Americans when it came to trust in the media, it's the same day that Barry Weiss may come in and actually provide some real balance and return CBS to the roots, the kind of almost, mythological roots that I think a lot of people have of a certain age about what CBS News used to be.
And let me offer an example of that. And one of the reasons that I pick on CBS in particular is there was a guy that got fired, and I'm glad he got fired from CBS, Jeff Pegues. And I'll also talk about Bill Whitaker because they're both with CBS News. Bill's still a 60 Minutes correspondent. Both of them came to my city, and both of them did stories on our now disgraced circuit attorney, Kim Gardner, who was opposed by a lot of people on the left, Curtis, not just right-wing talk show hosts, right? A lot of my friends here in St. Louis who were sane Democrats wanted her out. There were African Americans who came forward finally and said, we want her out. But they came into this town and they painted all this as a bunch of racist St. Louisans just trying to kick out this friendly progressive who just wants to, give social workers to these criminals, which is what she wanted to do. It was outrageous. And then, this is what happens with the legacy media. When time passes and it's very, very clear what this situation in St. Louis is all about. And unfortunately, a young girl from Nashville had to lose her legs for some of this to happen, Janae Edmondson. They didn't come back and correct the narrative. There's no effort to say, oh, you know what? We did this story about St. Louis being so racist and they're trying to boot out their circuit attorney. How about we do the follow-up story that shows how many cases she refused to prosecute, how all these things and criminals were left falling through the cracks, free to commit other crimes out there because of this circuit attorney. And I offered Jeff Pegues, Curtis, I said, I'll give you Democrats. Don't interview me. I have no credibility, right? I'll give you Democrats. But they ignore that because they don't want to hear that side of the story. So if Barry Weiss has any, just even if it's like 15% influence on getting these stories to shift in a more fair direction, that might be a victory.
Let me just say that I have full confidence. What little I know that I have about this whole situation from people, I have full confidence in this.
I love it. I love to hear you say that because this has been bubbling. The word came out, about a month ago that this might happen. And now, as you mentioned, you tweeted this out, Dylan Byers is reporting on this. So I find this fascinating. And just there are going to be heads that will explode.
On-air resignations. Let's do it.
Oh, I can't. I mean, now I've been checking CNN out quite a bit just because their heads are exploding over the shutdown and the Jimmy Kimmel stuff. And it's just immensely entertaining. So I might have to sample a little CBS News here in the next few weeks because look, let's face it. They think that some of these correspondents and reporters think that they're better than everyone else. They think that they, should run the show. And
they do.
And that there's a new sheriff in town, Barry Weiss. Thank you, Curtis.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Have a great weekend.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident reported on northbound 270 at 6440, and they had the left lane blocked. Now, it looks like they're trying to get that cleared, and it may be cleared. It's interesting. I saw that left lane blocked. I still see some flashing lights, so just take care through there. It has created some slow-moving traffic. And that traffic jam goes back through about Doherty Ferry. Now, southbound is already slow there. This is approaching Olive down through Doherty Ferry as well. Westbound 64 is lined up, and this is approaching Kings Highway out through McCausland, then in pockets that goes all the way out through 70. 70 is more like moderate volume at Jennings Station Road. Accident, though, reported northbound 170 south of 70. And 70 moderate volume in pockets out through. Looks like it gets better after the 70-64 split, but an accident reported now just past 79 as well. And if you're headed into Illinois, we have a jam headed for the Poplar. Not so bad on the bridge itself. Southbound 55 really lined up, headed down toward Bates, and then it looks a little bit better. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Join us October 23rd at Lit Cigar Lounge as we celebrate 25 years. Enjoy drinks from Lore Wine and Spirits, Old Dominick Distillery, and Rayburn Wines, plus live music by Pretty Weeds and more. Tickets at 971talk.com/events. Presented by Rhino Shield and U.S. Men's Medical Center.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan at McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
I'm going to a little soiree tonight where I get to visit with some of the sponsors of the show. I'm also going to the Thomas Helbig event tonight as well. But Mike Gower and Melody Pepper will probably be there from Michael's Bass. They're a brand new sponsor, and they do great work here in St. Louis and have for a long time. And if you call for an estimate, and these are great American-made products that they deal with, and they come in 30 to 50% less than the competition on a regular basis. And as a bonus, right now, they're offering a free shower door or $500 off your project. So you have a lot of incentive to get on the horn with the team from Michael's Bass. Again, all American-made products. You're not at the mercy of the tariffs. They can get you the product. They can install it very quickly. And maybe it's just, turning a bathtub into a walk-in shower. Maybe it's making something a little safer for someone who is aging. If you're looking for an affordable facelift or you need a shower area to become a safer space, Michael's Bass would love to work with you. By the way, they also work with customers who are approved by the VA for a grant that will pay for most, if not all, of the bathroom projects. So keep that in mind. 636-775-0800, michaelsbass.com.
Get ready, because here they come.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's Beatlemania all over again with the Fab Four, the ultimate tribute to the Beatles. Entertainment Tonight says seeing the Fab Four is just like seeing the Beatles. The Fab Four takes you through the 60s with the music that changed our lives. It's a show you won't want to miss.
Saturday, October 4th at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster.
Herman's Hermits, starring Peter Noon.
Something tells me I'm into something good.
And the Lovin' Spoonful.
Do you believe in magic?
Saturday, October 25th at the Family Arena with the Hollies' greatest hits, starring Terry Sylvester. Get tickets now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Herman's Hermits, starring Peter Noon and the Lovin' Spoonful.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife, Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds, and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day, and nothing worked until Mark Patrick hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food, crazy. Enjoying exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again. My blood pressure went down, and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Stop smoking. Lose weight now without craving, irritability, or your money back. Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. Join Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar and lose the weight. Stop smoking. Feel great for only $49.99 guaranteed. Saturday, October 18th at the Marriott St. Louis West in St. Louis. Weight loss seminar, 11 a.m. Registration, 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking seminar, 2 p.m. Learn more at markpatrickseminars.com. That's right, markpatrickseminars.com.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Sue, I don't know if you heard me say this yesterday. I think I said it on the air because I realized in real time that this dude who was the superintendent of schools for the Des Moines Public Schools, who was arrested by ICE a week ago.
Yeah.
He used to work here in St. Louis.
What?
Yeah. How about that? So this was, let me pull this up.
Wait, where?
St. Louis Public Schools. Where else?
Of course.
I mean, it says that the
Oh
former
my
director
gosh.
of human resources for the Mill Creek Township School District, Melody Ellington, claimed this was another claim against this guy. And in the Associated Press story, they say that this person, Melody Ellington, claimed that she faced unspecified unlawful treatment after she was hired and worked for Roberts from July 1st, 2021 through September 30th, 2022. But here's what's interesting. It says the two previously worked together in St. Louis Public Schools from 2015 to 2018, where Ellington was budget director and Roberts was a network superintendent. So he probably hired her, and then I'm not sure if there was a Me Too moment, but there was a settlement agreement, and she got some money out of that deal. But maybe the biggest part of this story has to be the fact, and this is still very confusing to me. He's not here legally, and when they're on to him, I guess he realizes it. He gets $3,000 in cash. He's got a gun. He ditches the car, so he's running from law enforcement.
Jeez.
But they had to admit that not only did he fail to provide proof that he was legally eligible to work for his district, but he didn't get his PhD. He went to Morgan State University, and these consulting firms, they make a lot of money going out there,
do.
and they'll get paid $75,000, $100,000 to go out, and we're going to hire them to do our next search for our superintendent. And you know why we do that in a school district, especially in an urban school district? We want to make sure we're checking off the right boxes with DEI. So it doesn't matter if he's got a PhD, because he's African American and he's all about, changing the system. So they hire him up in Des Moines. The woman who is the chair of the school board up there, her name is Jackie Norris. This gets interesting too. She's running for a United States Senate seat in Iowa, and she's Michelle Obama's former chief of staff.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of red flags that are obvious from the start. The board ignores it. They hire him, anyway. Yeah, he needed to resign, and he did resign a couple of days ago, but this isn't a mistake. It's a dereliction of duty, not unlike the school board here in St. Louis, which, by the way, if you haven't put these things together, you should, because we hire, it's so sad for these kids. We sit here and we talk about these issues on a regular basis, and let's connect the dots. How many of the issues that we have in downtown St. Louis, and we talked about Columbia yesterday, have to do with kids that are undereducated. They don't have any hope for their future because they haven't been offered any hope, because you got people that are working in these districts that aren't looking out for the kids. They're looking out for themselves. And that's what happened here with the superintendent that we had, who decided to turn a $17 million surplus into a $32 million deficit, right?
Oh, unbelievable.
That's pretty good work. But think about, these are the people that we trust and that we're supposed to put, in leadership positions to shepherd these kids through the education system. And that's what they do.
How did he get through?
They didn't
They
care.
just didn't check?
Well, this is where I'm a little confused on the PhD part, because they said that they knew that he had not completed the requirements. But what superintendent of schools, or even a principal? Oh, principals are PhDs, they're doctors, right? So you can't get positions. You can't even, I think it's a little silly that someone who doesn't have like a master's degree or PhD can't go in and teach perhaps at a university level, because I think that, and they do allow for that, but you know what I mean?
Right,
Typically, you
right.
have to get your level of expertise stamped on a piece of paper. But this one's interesting. So I don't know how you can even reckon with your constituents in that school district, say, yeah, we kind of knew a little bit of this about this guy. He hadn't completed his PhD, but we don't really care because he's a nice guy. And that's the other weird thing about it. He was very well liked. He seemed to be someone who kind of stood out in the room as a leader.
Right. That's how they do it. It's like that movie where he faked being a pilot the entire time. Catch Me If You Can.
Oh, yeah. Somebody else referenced that. Right. Yeah. The Frank not Frank Absher.
That's what you're right.
Frank Abigail or something like
that.
But
these people, almost, it's like a role they play.
So here, let's see here. He said that he had received his doctoral degree from Morgan State University, while attorney Laura Powell documents that he received an EDD from an online university in 2021. Years before that, well, that's after he worked here. Let's face it. He continued to further the lie that his doctorate was from Morgan State. A university spokesperson spoke with the Des Moines Register on Monday, said that Roberts had attended their school from the fall of 2002 to the spring of 2007. He was 5 years at the school, but had not obtained a degree from the school. He was using doctor honorific for many years before he got the EDD. I don't even know what that is in 2021. But they have the paperwork where he is applying for grants and doing other things, making claims that he had a doctorate from Morgan State University. So this whole thing is a disaster. And now it's a little unclear as to where he's going to go. He's from Guyana. He, in fact, did serve in the Guyanese military. And, his life story is actually kind of interesting. But wow, what a mess they're in Des Moines, Iowa, for sure.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads tonight, we've kind of got accidents here and there. And we've got westbound 70 lined up at Jennings Station Road, and then just some slow pockets. But there was an accident, for instance, past 79, and that's causing a delay. And then some slow-moving traffic headed out toward the 70 split. Accident reported on 141, really close to Olive. So just know that. It looks like it may actually be on Olive at 141. Westbound 6440. It's jammed approaching Kings Highway out past McCausland. Some slow pockets from there out through the 70 split. Southbound 270, still a slow go south of Page. Now, this is in pockets, but it goes down through almost Gravois. At 44, there was an accident reported right at 270. Southbound 55, that's slowing at Bates, and we look okay on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. That's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Will wing it is not a retirement strategy. I mean, you probably know that already, but think about it. You get closer to retirement. You know that you've saved, but is it enough? How do you know if it's enough? You have got to have professional help, or at least understand how the system works. And this is why I think Financial and Tax Architects' approach makes the most sense. Their idea is, here's what we do. We're going to put on a class called Retirement Planning 101. We'll have people register, and they show up, and they hold these at colleges throughout the area. It's 2.5 hours, and they go over all kinds of stuff. Here's some investment guidance. Here's how to maximize your income. Here's how taxes work in retirement. So you can learn and then decide if they are the ones you want to have help you, because they will, and they'll guide you through. So call them today, 314-888-5101. 314-888-5101. Get started and feel better about retirement.
Big news! Golden Oak is now your one-stop shop with Golden Oak Premier Realty and Golden Oak Lending. Buy, sell, or refinance and save thousands.
Golden Oak Lending, short my blues.
NMLS 114937.
The smartest way to do your homework is Hackman Lumber.
Warm weather means homework for homeowners. And for 80 years, Hackman Lumber has been the trusted name for home improvement. If your homework means a new deck, turn to the deck experts at Hackman Lumber. Browse the largest inventory of decking materials and accessories in Missouri. Talk with our experts about treated lumber, cedar, TimberTech, Trex, Envision, Decorators, and Duralife to find the perfect deck for you. Choose from endless railings, balusters, and LED deck lighting options. Hackman Lumber has been serving homeowners and pros for 80 years, and they will not be undersold on in-stock decking materials guaranteed. Whether you DIY with their expert advice or need a trusted contractor, Hackman has you covered. They are now an authorized steel dealer and stock a huge selection of grills. So celebrate summer with a new Big Green Egg, pellet grills, Weber gas, or charcoal grill, and all the accessories you need for the perfect backyard setup. Visit Hackman Lumber's showrooms in St. Charles, Pacific, and Troy, Missouri, or HackmanSTL.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Both sides
sides dug in. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Day 2 of the government shutdown, with both sides continuing to blame each other. House Speaker Mike Johnson tells Larry Kudlow on Fox Business.
It is a dark day in America because real Americans are suffering because of the political antics and shenanigans of Chuck Schumer and 43 of his Democrat colleagues in the Senate.
House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries says they're open to discussions.
House Democrats continue to be here, on duty. House Republicans are on vacation. We are ready, we are willing, we are able to sit down with anyone, anytime, any place, including the president and the vice president.
One of the Democrats demands an extension of the Affordable Care Act subsidies that will expire at the end of the year. President Trump again warning of layoffs and cuts to federal agencies, writing on Truth Social that he will meet today with the Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought to decide what should be cut. 3 people now in custody after a man stabbed people outside a synagogue in Manchester, England. Authorities say that suspect is a British citizen of Syrian descent.
Assistant Commissioner Lawrence Taylor, the head of the UK's anti-terror police, says this was a terrorist attack.
UK policing is mobilising, and it's mobilising fast. Police forces are stepping up patrols across the country at synagogues and Jewish sites.
Police shot the suspect dead. 4 others were hurt in the attack.
Fox's Jonathan Savage, the attack happening on Yom Kippur, the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. President Trump declaring drug cartels unlawful combatants in a memo to Congress confirmed to Fox News. It says the U.S. is now in a non-international armed conflict. This coming after U.S. strikes on suspected drug boats in the Caribbean last month. At least 2 of the 3 ships originated from Venezuela. Wall Street, all 3 major indexes reached new records. The Dow gained 78, the Nasdaq up 88. America's listening to Fox News.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Weather patterns still in a slow motion process, but things are starting to move, but no major changes until the middle of next week. Partly cloudy skies this evening and overnight. Evening temperatures taking that drop out of the 80s into the upper 70s. Still low humidity, 68 for the overnight low. Friday, sunny skies, 88 Friday night. Clear skies, 67 the first weekend of October. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we're getting close to the weekend. That means a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. Jane Duker is off, which is, I always say, that affords the rest of the panel a lot more time to weigh in on things. She's got a couple of Fridays off. State Rep Steve Butts, who, of course, is running for the state Senate, is going to pinch hit for Jane. State Senator Nick Schroer will be here, and John Gaskin also on the panel. All the fun stuff in the 4 o'clock hour with Paul Hall. On entertainment, we'll talk baseball and football with Frank Cusimano. Governor Kehoe will join me in the 5 o'clock hour tomorrow, 24 hours from now. Governor Mike Kehoe will have a great discussion with him. Right now, we have Congresswoman Ann Wagner from the 2nd District, who I believe is back in the district. Are you back home right now?
Yes, I am. I'm back home. Everyone's observing in Congress and frankly, the Jewish community across our country and world are observing Yom Kippur. So there are no votes today. The Senate's going to go at it again tomorrow on Friday. And right now, pending a potential breakthrough, we'll be back in voting on Monday morning. So that's the plan.
All right. So yeah, well, that's the plan. Okay. But what's your scenario for how all of this gets settled? To me, it doesn't seem like even though they're trying to, make this about Obamacare and healthcare and everything, because they think, and I think to a certain extent, the polling shows that might be a winning message for the Democrats. But how does this resolve itself? Because I don't see, anyone caving on the Republican side, right? You guys did your work in the House. You sent it over to the Senate. The Senate's rules a little different here and there. We sit in a shutdown. So you think that it seems like there are Senate Democrats that are trying to get on board here. And you saw some, meetings that took place in the Senate chambers this week. But what's your best guess here, Ann?
Yeah, you're quite right. And I will just say to you, as I have said repeatedly over my time in Congress, and to all your listeners and everyone in the 2nd District, a government shutdown is a complete waste of taxpayer dollars. It's bad for governance. It hurts our economy and workers. And we, yes, in the House, I voted once again to keep our government open and funded. And the House GOP voted 217 to 212. And this is a clean, continuing resolution that the Democrats, frankly, Mark, have supported at least 13 times in the past. This is, frankly, the Biden continuing resolution. We're just President Trump's only been in for 7 months. We're doing our appropriations process right now. There are no poison pills on this continuing resolution. There is nothing partisan. We're trying to buy a little more time, 6-7 more weeks, because we have a number of these appropriations bills that are in conference. We've moved another 2 out of the House. We're hoping to get some of our appropriation work, if not all of it, done and complete here. And no, so it's gone to the Senate, and the Schumer shutdown ensues, and he is terrified of his far left progressive base and AOC, who wants to primary him. He got punched in March when he also voted for this same continuing resolution. But I do see movement.
Okay.
We had 4 at one point, Democrats that voted for this in the Senate, for what we passed in the House. Again, we passed this in the House, did our work, kept the government funded. Fetterman, Senator King, and Senator Cortez Masto, and Senator Shaheen was a yes, Mark. And your listeners should know that she was marched back down to the floor by Schumer and made to change her vote.
Oh, I did not know that part. By the way, you did lose Rand Paul on the Republican side, but he never votes for these things.
We always lose Rand Paul on the Republican side.
Right.
So.
Yes.
Something in the water in Kentucky. We have it with Representative Massey on our side of the aisle, too. It's a Kentucky thing.
Don't get me started on Tom Massey. Oh, my God. He's a piece of work. Congresswoman Ann Wagner is here. All right, so and by the way, your phone line is not spectacular here, so I don't know if there's a way you can move to a different portion of where you are. But let's talk about the healthcare claims here, because as I indicated at the beginning, the Democrats think that this is a winning message. They want to make this about these Obamacare subsidies and whether or not, and this seems to be a nuanced question this week, whether or not some of the money for healthcare is going to illegal migrants that are in this town. CNN's making the case, because I've been listening to them a lot. Like, no, you guys got all this wrong. You're not talking about any, money that goes to illegals. And, they're taking a different stand that the Democrats are. So what does the truth on this sometimes lay in the middle here or not?
No. Let me tell you the truth. The truth is that the Democrats are demanding $1.5 trillion in additional spending just to get us to November 21st. Again, this is a little short gap measure here that we're trying to do while we finish our work. And yes, what they are asking for is $1.1 trillion in taxpayer-funded Medicaid for illegal immigrants, again, taken out of the One Big Beautiful Bill. They're also wanting to roll back the widely supported rural hospital fund of $50 billion, okay? And they're trying to undo the work requirements in Medicaid. So that all adds up to about 1.1 then trillion. There's $350 billion that they are fighting for the COVID, let me underscore, COVID era Obamacare subsidies. Now, let's be clear. This was a temporary program with zero bipartisan support, by the way, that on top of the real original set Obamacare subsidies during COVID allowed families to have an additional subsidy. And there were no means tested on it, no rails. So there were people truly that were making $500,000, a couple making $500,000 a year, $500,000.
Paying $74 a month. Yeah, got $74 a month for healthcare. Right.
I mean, like, it should infuriate you. So that's what they want, along with the illegal immigrant Medicaid and no work requirements. They want that rolled back, getting rid of the rural hospital fund, and then they want another $500 million for NPR and PBS.
Yeah, no, that's off the table.
I
Yeah,
mean,
right. So
all this stuff is not happening, man. I mean,
exactly. So why do they think they have any leverage here? Because I don't see it. I really do try to look at things from both sides, but I don't see how they could, figure that in the end, this is going to somehow be the Republicans caving. I think the more likely, and we indicated this, the more likely scenario is that you get enough Democrats on board to say, look, this is what we did in the spring. We're going to do the same thing here. And then we're going to negotiate some of these other things at the end of the year. But then don't we also face another CR, or do we have to finally, we can finally do appropriations by the end of the year?
Hopefully. I mean, we certainly will get a good chunk of them knocked out. And that's what's key here. As I said, 3 of them are in a conference right now, which means the Senate and the House have agreed. They're working on a package. They passed out of our chambers. We also have 2 more, including the defense appropriation that is huge. It's half of our entire budget is been done out of the House. We're going to try and get that done and finished. And so, yes, I believe that there are a number of these things that we can finish up. And these, if they want to negotiate something, we can look at negotiating, but these things don't even expire until the end of the year. We're not at the point of negotiating. We're at the point of buying a little more time to finish our work, their work in the Senate, and they've been more lax than we have in the House, and our work, frankly, in the House. It is not negotiating time, so to speak. It's finishing our work time, and the House knows, as do all the Republicans in the Senate, our leadership, the President of the United States. They all know that a government shutdown is bad, 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 bad. Hurts workers, hurts the economy. We're not for that. And we had a member call yesterday with the OMB director, Russ Vought. And I will say this to your listeners, and he assured all of us that he wants everyone to feel as few disruptions as possible, and that we will continue with things like Social Security services, Medicare, VA clinics and hospitals will be open. The Postal Service, not that it's any good, but sorry, I'm off message there.
Yeah, no, but not inaccurately off message. That's
not
for
inaccurately.
Sure. Right.
I'm battling that one too, my friend. I'm after USPS big time. Weather services, crop insurance, TSA, all of those things will be open. They're even keeping museums and parks open to the extent that they can. So we're not trying to make this a grave hardship on the American people, but we are going to have to start canceling some things. And I believe it was announced that they were canceling a number of these, I'm going to call them kind of infrastructure transit projects in New York City, the Hudson Tunnel project and the Second Avenue subway project. That was $26 billion. So we just pulled that back in to fund some things. And they're also canceling some of the green energy projects too.
I'm a big
that was about
fan
$8
of that.
billion.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have made movement there, and I don't know what OMB and the executive branch will do next, but here's the problem. The Democrats have handed the key to our constitutional Article 1 authority right over to the White House and to the administration. So that's what you do when you shut down the government, which I don't understand why they would want to do that either. None of this makes sense. It's all political. And I'm going to tell you, we're not negotiating until the Democrats reopen the government. They must reopen the government, and we can get our work done to the extent we can, and we'll have negotiations.
Then talk about things. Yeah. Well, that's the way it should be. And
bet.
I think there would be every expectation that there's not going to be any caving here. Congresswoman Ann Wagner, let me take you into another subject. Last Friday, I had been invited by a friend of mine who was doing some charity work up in North City and in North County, helping with tornado recovery. And he said, Mark, you got to go up there. And I had not been up there to tour. I've seen a little of Forest Park, but had not gone to some of the more devastated areas. So Pete Foley is his name. And Great guy, retired, but trying to help out. He takes me up there. I mean, there's so much devastation. It's just unbelievable. Then there's a story, in the Post today. I don't know if you saw this, but Senator Hawley is slamming FEMA's response. And there was a piece in the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago that specifically talked about FEMA and the response. And they focused here on St. Louis. So, and these are, I don't know, you were up there early on when all this happened, but these are neighborhoods that simply, they won't be neighborhoods for maybe decades if we don't get in here. The debris is still sitting there, and then I don't know what happens with redevelopment or what can happen in the future. But this is a pretty big crisis for the city of St. Louis, isn't it?
It really is, and especially for not just the individual homeowners that have just had their world ripped apart, but it's also bad for their neighbors and for property values. The longer this goes, there are some studies and statistics that are out that if things are not cleaned up and put back in order by 6 or 9 months, the property values of the entire neighborhood and area can go substantially down. So we have given, the governor got every penny that he asked for and then some from the U.S. government. We fought for it here as a delegation and in a bipartisan way, and he got every single penny that's of disaster relief aid that they've asked for, not only for the city of St. Louis, but for ones that happened and then in the county and in some of my areas of the 2nd District in Franklin County and beyond. But yes, that money has been sent out, and I agree. FEMA's got to get moving on this much more quickly, and the city of St. Louis has got to engage. I saw the mayor down of the city of St. Louis down at the NGA opening that I had the honor of being a part of on last Friday morning. And we were talking about the money that they have, the people that have pitched in. There is outside money, private money that has been made available. We need the contract workers and others to actually get in there and start with the construction. That is a part of it also, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, no, that the main thing, I'm glad you reminded me, because the one thing I will tell you about seeing things, I didn't see very much work being done. I saw a lot of devastation. I saw a lot of, bricks. I did not see a lot of, tractors or cleanup. So I don't know. I'd love to help. And I think a lot of people would help with volunteers, but these are big projects and, you need machinery and people who are experienced at some of this. Hey, I'm going to have a guest on here, my friend Mark Sutherland here in a couple of minutes. And let me just touch on this with you, because we're going to highlight this announcement that British Airways is going to do a direct flight between Lambert and Heathrow and London. Hey, we focus on all the negative in St. Louis. That's some pretty damn good news, isn't it, Ann?
Woohoo! And I am so happy. We have really, really fought for these transatlantic flights. We have one obviously going into Germany, which is highly successful. But if we can get one directly into London Heathrow, that is magnificent. A direct flight there, and that is a feeder hub, as you well know, Mark, to
Europe.
The rest of Europe. Yeah. So if you're doing business, if you want to go for pleasure or travel or with your family, that is going to be the way to go. And I applaud it highly, and exciting to see. And I can't wait to hear some more of the specifics. It's going to lift the entire region and really be great, I think, for economic growth. Because remember, too, you're going to see then other cities that don't have international flights, and there aren't tons of them that do. They'll be coming here to our Lambert Airport and using our facilities and our city and our region in order to catch that connection.
And instead of going to New York or Toronto or Chicago, absolutely.
Or Dulles or wherever,
I'll admit that I have some questions about the incentives, but I know that with Lufthansa, the incentives expired after 2 years, and they decided, look, there was enough, demand, and that's what I'm hoping here. And I think there will be. I think this is going to be really successful. Absolutely. All right, listen, well, enjoy your time back in the district, and then when are you heading back next week and hoping that this is going to be settled?
It's going to be brief. Be brief. I will be. We're back out at it on Monday, and our leadership's coming up with a plan. But as I said, we did our work. We funded the government. We kept it open. It is time for the Democrats, certainly in the Senate, to stop playing games. It's been broken. As I said, there were 3 or 4 that wanted it. I know that Ossoff has got a big race. Senator Ossoff needs to vote for this. Klobuchar. I bet we can get Peters. I can get us to 60 in the Senate in my own mind. So let's get her done. let's make sure that we're taking care of our workers and our economy and making sure we don't have any kind of lengthy shutdown of the government.
All right, keep us posted. Have a great weekend. I appreciate it.
You bet. You too.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Westbound 70 out of downtown. A little bit of moderate volume at Jennings Station Road. Shocker. Eastbound, a little slow at Lindbergh. And then westbound, really not bad. They cleared up that accident past 79. A slow pocket or two out through the 64 split. Southbound 270 is slow, headed down toward Page. And then it's slow pockets down to Doherty Ferry. The innerbound is especially slow tonight, south of Olive through 64. Now 44 downtown slowing in front of the Arch grounds. And we've got westbound 40 slowing Kings Highway, but this is in pockets all the way out through 70. And other than that, it's not bad. We do have some volume southbound 55, mainly at Bates, but it looks great if you're headed into Illinois on any of the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. This report is brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning and Electrical and Plumbing.
Furnace funky?
Then make one call.
And Jerry Kelly will be there the very next day.
Call anytime, 8 to 8, 8 days a week.
And Jerry Kelly will fix your furnace or install a new one the very next day.
JerryKelly.com. We had a great conversation earlier this week with Susan L. Ward from the law offices of Susan L. Ward. She is a family practice attorney. She's a great, great friend and sponsor of 97.1 FM Talk. And we were just kind of checking in about a variety of issues. You know, it's never an easy situation to go through the end of a marriage, but Susan has a team that she has put together over the course of many decades that has a wealth of experience, and this is what they do. They do family law. And that does not just include, divorce. It's the things that happen in the aftermath of divorce. I kind of told her a bit of a funny child support story, if there is such a thing, when we visited earlier this week, and go back and listen on the podcast. But if you need their help with post-divorce issues that come up, modifications to orders, they handle domestic violence and domestic partnerships as well. So they're there for you, whatever you need, at a beautiful brand new office in De Pere at Manchester and 270. Easy to get a hold of Susan and the team. All you have to do is call 314-783-9400. The website, stlfamilylaw.com for Susan L. Ward.
Celebrate the spooky season with Zero Res and get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. You can take 15% off your air duct and dryer vent cleanings. Book online at zeroresstl.com and take advantage of the saving.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-284-1238. 800-284-1238. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. 800-284-1238.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you're still healthy and qualify for much better individual plans. Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com has been helping people get affordable health insurance with great coverage for over 35 years. Greg offers private health insurance plans that are not on the ACA marketplace. You can pick your doctors. For most claims, you won't even pay a deductible, and they're 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. One more thing, there's no tax penalty at the end of the year. Greg even has plans that are guaranteed acceptance. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan by you, not the government.
Bold conversations, no apologies. The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, don't forget we have a Reardon Roundtable tomorrow. Should be a good one. Steve Butts will be pinch hitting for Jane, State Senator Nick Schroer, and John Gaskin all on the panel. We'll have Paul Hall on entertainment and Frank Cusimano in the 4 o'clock hour as well. One of the topics we'll talk about, look, it's not very often, if we're being honest, that we can talk about positives happening in the city of St. Louis or for the city of St. Louis. And I will say that I feel like this new flight to London, which was announced yesterday, is a pretty big deal. And we'll talk about that on the roundtable. But Mark Sutherland is here. He is His Majesty's Honorary Consul to Great Britain and Northern Ireland to the state of Missouri. He's also the owner of Stone Ledge Distillery in Defiance. We're going to talk about some fun stuff happening out there. But Mark, welcome back. How are you?
I am very, very excited. Some fantastic news that's been a long time coming.
First of all, I want to tell you that I wasn't sure, and this is a short segment, so I don't blame you for doing it on the phone. But if you had come in person, guess what you would have been wearing on your way out of the studio?
Oh, yes, your face.
I have the Mark. Well, luckily my face is not on the T-shirt. It's actually a cool
T-shirt. You need to improve it.
I have my Mark Reardon Show T-shirt for you. I will put it in the mail. You were on I got 3 people I'm sending shirts to, and you're at the top of that list. But I did bring one in today just in case you were coming in person. They're really nice. They're soft. I mean, if you just want to use it to wash the car, you can do whatever you want. But I think you're going to like it. All right, so let's talk about this news about the flight to London. I've been a little critical. I've taken 2 international flights on Lufthansa. Have not been my best experiences, but we've been kind of, restricted to that when it comes to international travel. This announcement from British Airways is awesome, isn't it?
It's absolutely fantastic. Now, British Airways, that is the way to travel. They know how to treat you right. And I mean, I immigrated actually to the U.S. on a direct flight from London to St. Louis. And so to get this direct flight back starting in April is phenomenal. It cuts it could be a 13, 14 hour, maybe longer travel day down to just 8 hours, which is fantastic. You go to bed at 10 o'clock on the flight and you wake up, it's noon in London and you're there. So phenomenally excited, not just for the tourist travel, but for all the economic connections and the ease of business going back and forth as well.
Yeah. So to your point, I think people understand this, but you would ordinarily have to fly to New York or maybe Toronto or something like that. And then that's going to take, you're going to have a couple hour layover. So I think, and there has to be demand for this. First of all, London is an awesome city. It's been about 10 or 11 years since I've been there. And I always recommend it because first of all, it's so safe. It's so easy to get around on the tube and there's so many things to see. So for people listening who have not, even thought about going to the UK, I would highly consider this. Now, this is something that's going to kick in next spring is my understanding, but you can book flights now, can't you, Mark?
Correct. April 19th, I believe, is when it goes. The first flight is on sale right now. There's actually some really good discounts for the first few months as well. And it's going to be seasonal to start, so April through October.
That makes sense,
and then based on demand, then we'll potentially see a year round. And if Lufthansa is any indication, that demand will be there. We're already seeing about 400 people every day flying from St. Louis to Europe. So we know there's traffic. And so this will just increase that and make it a lot easier for people in the Midwest to get into London and then on towards the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. Heathrow goes everywhere in the world very, very easily.
So there's a $4.5 million incentive here over 3 years. But one thing that should be noted is, and sometimes I have questions about these things. What's the ROI? I think there's a potential of a strong ROI here. In fact, maybe some evidence is the Lufthansa flights after the 2-year incentive package expired, they're continuing and there's still demand for that. So I think that's great news. So good job. I don't know.
Continuing, and they actually increased.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you played a role in this, but I'm a fan, and I was happy to see that announcement yesterday. Before I let you go, though, and I think I've told you this before, look, the Augusta Defiance area in in this particular region of Missouri is just beautiful. I've said this before. I could take someone. I always used to say this about Door County, Wisconsin, which is another one of my favorite places. You ever been there, Sutherland?
I have not.
Okay.
You've talked about it a lot,
Yeah.
so I need to visit at some point.
But what I've said is I could take someone, blindfold them, take them on a helicopter, whatever, drop them in Door County. They'd think that they were out east somewhere, like on the ocean. In this case, people think of Missouri, I think, as really flat because of Illinois, but it's so beautiful out there. I used to ride my bike quite a bit out there. But you got a great, awesome Oktoberfest that's going on in Defiance, right?
We do. It's kicking off. It actually kicked off yesterday. It goes all the way into November. So every weekend, all the venues around here are doing Oktoberfest stuff: music, food, drinks. We've got a whole special menu of German drinks at Stone Ledge Distillery. But Billy Bush is doing stuff. Good News, Circle 6, Defiance Ridge, Chandler Hill, Sugar Creek, Judgment Tree. All these different places in Defiance. So you can bounce around every weekend and even during the week as well and enjoy an Oktoberfest. It's just 20 minutes from St. Louis County.
Yeah, so there is a website for this, which is DefianceOktoberfest.com. October spelled with the K. That's the only trick there. DefianceOktoberfest.com. I don't know where the other one would take in. I'm not sure I want to risk that. But that sounds like
that one as well.
Yeah. Well, look, that's a good, smart. But, look, you got beautiful, beautiful weather here. I mean, we've still stayed very warm during the days, but the weather in the weekend is going to be fantastic. And October really is. I saw someone put a poll up. I don't even know why this was, a question mark, but what's your favorite fall month of the year? It has to be October, right? Hands down, October.
Yes.
Cooler temperatures,
Agreed.
not too cold. All right, Mark Sutherland, great to have you on the show. Thanks for promoting the the new flight to London, and have fun with Oktoberfest. I'll try to get out there this month because, again, it is one of my favorite places. I want my daughter. I don't know if I can bring my daughter. Let me ask that question. If I come out to the Katy Trail and ride the bike, are there all only adult, things,
No,
or can you
most
take
venues? I mean, every venue has at least one section is all ages.
Okay, good.
Most of them are fully all ages.
Yeah, I promise not to get her all hopped up on wine. Mark Sutherland, we'll talk soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got volume on westbound 6440. It's Kings Highway, and then it's Pockets, and it goes all the way out through the 70 split. 70 is better if you're trying to figure out which to take. It's moderate volume at Jennings Station Road at K, and a little slow Highway A through Wentzville. Now, southbound 170 is a slow go, and that's Del Mar down through 40. We've got southbound 270 with some moderate volume in Pockets, Olive in Pockets, but it's to Doherty Ferry. And southbound 55 slowing at Bates. 44 westbound is slow in front of the Arch Grounds downtown, but no delays on the bridges if you're headed into Illinois. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative. Traffic brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control.
Annie here, and I can proudly say no more spiders in my home. I use Point Pest Control 4 times a year, and I haven't seen any, not a single one, since they've been in my home. Mention Annie and get 10% on top of any other special. Point Pest Control, 636-798-0023.
Well, we have another big weekend approaching here. That means a lot of football starting tonight. And Underdog Fantasy is the best place to get in on all the action in Missouri. Football season in full swing. Let's have a little fun. And I'm going to guide you into some awesome bonus credit opportunities for you in just a minute. But you have to download the app. So that's where it starts. Go to the App Store, download Underdog Fantasy, get on there, kind of search around after you get your username and password. It's pretty easy. You'll see the games that come up, the players that will come up for the baseball playoffs or football. You don't have to make selections in all of, just one sport. It's you can play with as little as $1. You can run up to 5,000 times your money, but you got to get started by downloading the app. And I want you to use this promo code. Very important, especially now. Mark R. That gets you $100 in bonus funds or entries when you play your first $5. $100 in bonus funds or entries. Use the promo code Mark R. Underdog. Make plays. Win money. Must be 18 plus in President, Missouri. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
With this season's drought and high temperatures, demand for new sprinkler system installs is at its peak. Even with a little rain in the forecast, now is the absolute best time to put a new system in place, setting you up for a healthier, greener lawn next year. Don't let your lawn go through another season looking the way it does today. Take control now, and you'll never have to worry about the damage heat and dry weather can cause again. Call 636-695-7800 or visit ProOutdoor.com to schedule your new system installation today.
You hear that? That's the sound of your business losing money. Legacy phone systems weren't built for today's teams. Quo, formerly OpenPhone, gives your business a smarter way to stay connected. Quo lets you manage calls, texts, voicemail, and contacts all in one place so that you can deliver a seamless customer experience from ring to... Need to take calls on the go? Quo automatically transcribes, summarizes, and highlights next steps from every call, so you never miss a detail. Need insight into what closes a sale? With Quo's AI call tags, you can instantly spot key topics like objections or pricing questions and use those insights to level up every customer interaction. And yes, you can bring your existing number with you for free. Keep your team in sync and your customers happy with Quo. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Try Quo for free at quo.com/free and get 20% off your first 6 months. That's quo.com/free. QUO.com/free.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
The time is 5:36. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
25 years strong. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
On. Reardon Roundtable tomorrow as we approach the weekend should be a lot of fun. My friend Tim Summer is going to talk music in the 5 o'clock hour. We always talk music and have a lot of fun. I do want his opinion of Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl. I don't get it, but maybe Tim will present a different side of this. We talk about, and obviously we're in the middle of this government shutdown right now. We've been talking about that all afternoon. I've been talking about the debt and deficit for many decades and how to, approach it, how to fix it. Is it a crisis for the U.S.? Is it not a crisis? John Tamny has a very different perspective on all this. He's written a book about it called Deficit Delusion, Why Everything Left, Right, and Supply Side Tells You About the National Debt is Wrong. And he is the editor of Real Clear Markets, the vice president of FreedomWorks. John Tamny, welcome back to 97.1 FM Talk. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Talk a little bit before we get into this, what you do at FreedomWorks and what FreedomWorks is all about.
Well, I am actually, I left FreedomWorks because it closed down.
Oh, okay.
I'm now head of the Parkview Institute, which is, I started it at FreedomWorks. I, in fact, officed out of FreedomWorks while doing it. And my goal here is to slowly change the economics discussion, little bits and pieces here and there, toward a more optimistic, more informed one. I think people who say they can change the world are probably naive, but I think we can slowly change the discussion. And one of the ways I'm trying to do it is hoping to change how people see deficits and debt.
So let me just toss out my my mantra that I sometimes lean on, and you tell me if there's anything to this. One of the issues that I've had with my fellow conservatives or Republicans, maybe not as many of the conservatives, just the people who have R's in front of their name, is nobody, and this is really everyone in Washington, no one has the guts and courage to talk about the entitlements. So you could talk about DOGE, you could talk about all these things till you're blue in the face, but you have to address Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. And I think that there are realistic fixes for Social Security in particular. Now, your approach is a little different here because you're going to say, Mark, no, that, we got to do more than that, I think, and get creative. But just on that front in particular, you can't get to this with discretionary funding or spending, rather. So you have to have the entitlements involved in the conversation. True or false?
False.
Wow.
Yes. I argue in the deficit delusion that the worst thing you could do if you want to restrain government would be to reform Social Security and Medicare. I know that's nuts, but that's my argument. It's the second to last chapter. Whatever you do, don't let them reform them. And here's why. They're bad programs. Yeah, what monumental mistakes, unnecessary, all that. But if you reform them, you suddenly free up trillions of dollars for the political class to start spending. And that is a dangerous path, because once you give them all that fresh powder, all these new programs will begin, and they'll grow and they'll grow and they'll grow. And so I look at Social Security and Medicare at precisely because these two big mistakes take up more and more of the budget. There actually are a way to restrain the growth of government, because those two things plus interest payments are the biggest line items in the budget. Well, let them swallow it. All the while, let's have a real discussion. We have a problem of too much revenue, and it's going to explode in the future, higher and higher. We've got to cut taxes now so low that revenue into the government declines. And if so, it's going to be harder for government to borrow. And so I'm making a very opposite argument. The problem is we have too much revenue, and that's why the debt grows.
Well, I think, and I don't discount that, because I think that there's a problem here. Here's how I would put it. Look, I was a Reagan Republican. I voted for Reagan when I was, I think maybe 19 years old, the first presidential race I ever voted in. So I've been a fiscal conservative, not as much a social conservative, but I've been very concerned about the growth and the scope of government. And in many ways, the growth and the scope of government has never gone down, never goes down. It always goes up. Even now in this government shutdown, we're talking about cuts that aren't really cuts. As you know, John, they're just spending levels from previous years. So I kind of understand the angle from which you're coming from, but then how do you fix the debt and deficit issue, or should we not worry about that?
Well, okay, so it's so interesting. So you're a Reagan guy, I'm a Reagan guy. Well, okay, so imagine if you had told your younger self in 1980, hey, watch, Reagan's going to get into office. He's going to cut taxes. Revenue is going to, into the Treasury is going to double during his presidency. And, oh, guess what? Reagan's going to shape, in many ways, economic policy for the next few decades, and revenue into Treasury is going to double, triple, quadruple. It's going to be up 14 times by 2025. What would you have said? Would you have guessed that the deficit would be lower, that national debt would be lower in 2025, or more?
More.
Well, I don't mean to speak. Yeah. Okay, but you're one of the few people who would have guessed that. Most would have said, oh, well, no, with all this revenue, see, we're going to be able to pay off the debt and bring it down to zero. But logic dictates the opposite. I mean, think about how much could you borrow on your credit card when you were 19 or 21 versus where you are today?
Significant. Yes. It's significant. I believe one of my first limits was 500, and that was back in the day when you could just do the carbon copy machine that kind of swiped over it, so they never checked. So I was over my limit anyway back then, John.
Well, see, there you go.
Yeah.
See, a $500 limit. But see, now you can borrow a lot more. Well, of course you can. The credit card companies trust your future. They trust your present and future earnings more. Well, government's no different. Precisely because government continues to take in more and more tax dollars from Americans that get richer and richer all the time, it's no surprise that deficits went up under Reagan and that they went up subsequently. It's not that Reagan wasn't for limited government, but politicians exist to spend. And so when the revenue is increasing for them, so is increasing their ability to borrow in the future, because, up revenue. Well, we can lend to them. And if the world lines up to lend to us, we have debt because we have too much revenue, not because we have too little.
Is the situation, I just thought about this, but is the situation with the, skyrocketing costs of higher education, for example, because of the low interest loans, that's a bit of a microcosm of what you're talking about to a certain extent?
I don't think so. I honestly think, isn't education, you're in St. Louis. So look at the top private schools in St. Louis and compare the tuition in 1980 to 2025. Because the federal government isn't lending toward that, yet tuition skyrocketed in all those fancy schools in St. Louis.
Right.
And that's true across the country. With education, look, I'm not defending government student loans. Again, I think government shouldn't be doing any of this stuff. But honestly, if you want to ask me, why is tuition much higher at Wash U than it was in 1980? Well, because it's not just Americans demanding seats in these fancy schools, but it's the whole world.
Yeah, no, that's true.
No Chinese could afford Wash U in 1980. Well, China's an increasingly prosperous country. I think that's a good thing. Now they send their kids to the top U.S. schools across the country.
Yep, absolutely. John Tamny is here. His book is called Deficit Delusion: Why Everything Left, Right, and Supply Side Tells You About the National Debt is Wrong. Let me ask you this. Let's say you're right. I'm not discounting that you're wrong about this. How do we, kind of going back to my point about the unwillingness on politicians to have tough discussions about entitlements, how do we get to a point with this divisiveness in this country, John, where we can have a serious conversation about some of this? I happen to be friends with Paul Ryan, the former speaker, former vice presidential candidate. I've known him since he was a freshman in Congress, lived up in Milwaukee. But he's like persona non grata, with much of my audience right now, and many people on the Republican side, because he is deemed a rhino. Well, there's a guy that talked about policy and serious policy, but that seemingly there's no room for that anymore.
No, you're right. And how do we solve this? Okay, start the laugh track. We have to reduce taxes so substantially that the flow of dollars from the richest Americans plummets. As in, we've got to probably reduce them to below 1%, to a small percentage of 1% on federal taxes, so that the revenue from the Elon Musks of the world declines so much that government revenue declines substantially, and the whole world says, oh, wait a second, they are serious about reducing the inflow of dollars to the U.S. Treasury, so we would be fools to lend to them anymore. And so you hear that, and again, start the laugh track. But let's have this conversation in 10 years, 20 years. I'll bet you two things: that the deficit is much higher because we're not going to do what I say we should do.
Of course.
And I'll add, borrowing costs for the U.S. Treasury will be down. As in, I keep saying, one of the surest sign we have so much that borrowing costs for Treasury are going down is all the debt. As in, the world trusts us so much to pay the money back. And so I'm merely making the point, if we have the discussion now and say we've got a serious problem of soaring revenues in the future, you could position yourself to actually stop the debt here and start paying it off. But if government revenue is going to continue to grow like this, as it's done since Reagan was in office, you're going to see debt go up, 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 and borrowing costs go down, 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 because the world's going to say, oh my gosh, the U.S. is dense with billionaires and trillionaires. This debt will be easy for them to pay off.
Yeah, look, there's a lot to chew on here, and I like the different approach because I think we need more of that. John Tamny, again, the book is Deficit Delusion. Thanks so much for joining us here in St. Louis on 97.1 FM Talk. I appreciate it, John.
Thanks for having me.
On the roads, I'll tell you what, we look okay. I mean, things are thinning out just a bit. There's some volume on 70 westbound at Jennings Station Road, and then things open up, and it's a little slow at Highway A through Wentzville. Looking better on 42. It's moderate volume. This is approaching Hampton out through McCausland. Eastbound slowing on either side of 170. Westbound doesn't really slow again until Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Still some moderate volume southbound 270 at Manchester, but 55 southbound. We've got an accident reported south of Loughborough, and that has really created a jam through the work zone there. If you're headed into Illinois, we look great. Really no delays on the bridges downtown. 44, though, watch for some moderate volume right in front of the arch in what we call the depressed section. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Climate Masters. We specialize in older homes. Climate Masters Heating and Cooling. trusted heating and cooling installation and maintenance service, keeping the St. Louis Metro comfortable since 1978. Call us today at 314-968-8383. Climate Masters.
Well, right after the show tonight, I'm going to head over to the Plaza Frontenac Hilton to see Thomas Helbig and the team from the Retirement Advisory Group. And maybe some of you, if you've signed up for the seminar. Now, I will tell you that it's a little too late to sign up right now, because all we need to know for the seminars, we do 5 a year. This is the final one. We just need to reserve a spot. So if you have reserved a spot, you're good, and I'll see you in just a little bit. But you don't have to worry about the next seminar that won't take place probably until January or February, because Thomas makes it very easy, and he's going to do this with a group of people tonight and sort of explain the markets, the difference that they have in their approach to the markets, safely linking to the market, and why their clients have had so much success over the years. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you have a connection. I know that one thing that clients of Thomas told me very consistently when I hooked up with a bunch a few years ago is they wish they would have met him sooner. So go online right now. Don't make that mistake. You can, if you can't be there tonight, you can meet one-on-one in the office. RetirementKey.com for Thomas Helbig, the official financial planners of this show and the Retirement Advisory Group.
This is James Hawkins, president of Golden Oak. I am excited to announce the opening of Golden Oak Premier Realty. That means we're your one-stop shop for financing and buying your home. One team, one goal, your home. Not moving? Now is still the time. Your home's equity is higher than ever. And with our 4.5% mortgage rate, you could save over $1,000 every month. Use your equity to pay off high-interest credit cards, lower your monthly payment, or even skip 2 months of mortgage payments. And don't forget, if your loan doesn't close, we'll pay for your appraisal. We make the process fast and easy, often getting your cash in as little as 14 days. Whether you're buying, selling, or refinancing, call Golden Oak today and let us put our 25 years of experience to work for you. Call 314-567-GOLD.
Golden Oak Landing, short my blues.
5.442 APR, FHA 15-year, 20% equity, qualified credit, additional terms apply. NMLS 114937.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than four for years? Now it's why pay more than two, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than two?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
God, remember when the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Pile were flying around the arch selling flooring?
Andrea, that was the Queen of Carpet and the Princess of Tile.
Oh, that's right. But we don't need shtick here at Best Buy Flooring.
That's right, because our in-stock selection of carpet, carpet tile, sheet vinyl, laminate, hardwood, luxury vinyl plank, and luxury vinyl tile are already at low, low prices.
Come see us at our 3 area locations, North County, South County, and Metro East. Open 7 days a week.
Plus, free financing on approved credit. Best flooring, best selection, Best Buy Flooring.
Protect your liver and give it the support it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meyer Grocery, or online at Amazon or at newnordicusa.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, here we are, and I don't know. We've been talking about here throughout the day what the end result here is going to be of the shutdown. I do think it's probably going to be relatively short, but here, on the healthcare front, we talked about this with Ann Wagner earlier this hour with some other guests as well. What are the Dems saying, and are they lying? Carolyn says, yes, they are.
I have the Democrat proposed continuing resolution right here, where you can read in the text a provision that would remove the provision that Republicans passed in President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill to ensure that illegal aliens in our country cannot receive Medicaid and taxpayer-funded health care benefits. That was happening under the Biden administrations, and the Democrats endorsed it, encouraged it, and vocally supported it.
Yeah, so here is a little bit more Carolyn, because she was on fire on this.
And now Democrats, rather than just passing a clean continuing resolution to keep the government funded, which is what the president and Republicans want, they submitted a continuing resolution that puts this poison pill back into law. That's what they want to do. And it's completely unacceptable.
Well, she's not wrong there. It is unacceptable, but we'll continue to hash it all out. And I'm not so sure we'll have any clearer picture by 3 p.m. tomorrow, but have a great night. Enjoy the football game. There's baseball on tonight. Beautiful weather. We're back at 3 p.m. tomorrow for the Reardon Roundtable.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There is an accident on southbound 55, really close to Loughborough, and it is really causing a delay behind it. If you're traveling in that area, it's in the right lane. And of course, this is in the construction zone, so that means only the one left lane is open. Look for a jam behind it, at least back to Bates. Now, that seems to be the worst of it at this hour. If you are traveling out of downtown on 70, it looks great. Just a little slow. Highway A out through Wentzville. 64, it's moderate volume. Hampton out through the inner belt. Eastbound slowing on either side of 170. And then westbound, just moderate volume at Prospect. Southbound 270 in great shape. And if you are headed into Illinois, now is the time. We look great on all of the bridges downtown. And it seems quiet on the Illinois side in general. We also look good through North County. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Service you can see, experts you can trust.
Hear that? Sounds like simple. No appointments. About 15 minutes to change your oil. Then out the door and back to life. Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Simple.
Stressed about owing over $10,000 in back taxes? The IRS isn't slowing down, and neither is Tax Hardship Center. Last year alone, the IRS wiped out over $163 million in tax debt for thousands of hardworking people. If paying back the IRS threatens your finances, you may be eligible for hardship programs that could let you settle for a lot less. Everyday Americans are finding relief right now by calling Tax Hardship Center. You've been thinking about this. The time to act isn't tomorrow, it's today. Grab your phone and call now for a free consultation to find out every option you have for lowering your IRS debt. Dial 800-301-9260. With increased IRS collections, now is the best time to see what tax relief programs you may qualify for. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, you have options. Call now. 800-301-9260. 800-301-9260. That's 800-301-9260.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one who lives with you. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care, helping you with preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid weekly. This Medicaid program is available to eligible St. Louis residents. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 7,000 five-star Google reviews, we've perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. If you live in the St. Louis area, this service is available through Medicaid. And with our InstaPay app, caregivers can choose to get paid weekly. So go to freedomcare.com now, or for faster service, call 314-697-4912, 314-697-4912. That's 314-697-4912.
Freedom Care, we're here for you.
We've been here to talk about it with you for 25 years, and we're still here because of you. Celebrating 97.1 FM Talk's 25th birthday this month. This is St. Louis Conservative. KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Heading toward day 3. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. No talks today as the government remains closed. The Senate is in session tomorrow, and there could be movement on a short-term bill that would fund the government through the 3rd week of November.
Reopening government requires several Senate Democrats to side with the GOP. Bipartisan Senate negotiations continue off stage. Senators want government funded, but also aim to shore up Obamacare subsidy. Some Republicans worry about Obamacare price spikes. But even if senators forge a deal, the plan may die in the House.
Fox's Chat program. This is President Trump has warned of mass layoffs and cuts to programs as a result of the shutdown. He's not yet specified what would be cut. President Trump has declared drug cartels operating in the Caribbean unlawful combatants in a memo confirmed by Fox News.
The memo cites a September 15th strike on a ship in the Caribbean accused of trafficking drugs, claiming it could eventually kill Americans. This comes as Democrats have alleged the administration is exceeding its powers to use military force against the cartels.
Fox's Ryan Jamel. Several senators, both Democrat and Republican, as well as human rights groups, have questioned the legality of the decision to target the boats, calling it a potential overreach of executive authority, in part because the military was used for law enforcement purposes. A British citizen of Syrian descent identified as the person who carried out an attack at a synagogue in Manchester, England this morning, killing 2 people and injuring 4 before he was killed by police. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
A vile individual committed a terrorist attack that attacked Jews because they are Jews and attacked Britain because of our values.
3 others were taken into custody. Since the October 7th attack on Israel, anti-Semitic attacks in the UK have more than doubled. America is listening to Fox News.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Investors making the trend their friend and sending stocks to new highs today. The Dow rose 79 points. The Nasdaq added 89 and the S&P gained 4, but that was enough for a new benchmark. Tech stocks were the leaders, energy stocks among the day's biggest losers. Tomorrow is the first Friday in October, and it's usually when we would get the government's September jobs numbers. But the government shutdown has put a pin in that at a time when hiring is slowing. Now we're hoping that the shutdown will end before the holiday travel season, but if it doesn't, you know what that's going to mean. Crazy long airport security lines. Fox Business talked to Brian Kelly, the points guy. He says one thing you can do now to make sure that you won't get caught up in it is to register for TSA pre-check or clear. And if the shutdown is over, well, consider it a bonus. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Daria Albinger, invested in you.
Rising debt, stock market swings, and global shocks can affect your retirement. But even in this economy, there's still opportunity. Protect your retirement with a secure, tax-advantaged gold IRA. Instead of leaving a 401k or IRA at the mercy of markets, hold physical gold or silver. Real protection for your future. And Noble Gold makes it simple. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com and chat with a specialist. The conversation is free, and the peace of mind is priceless. noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Weather patterns still in a slow motion process, but things are starting to move, but no major changes until the middle of next week. Partly cloudy skies this evening and overnight. Evening temperatures taking that drop out of the 80s into the upper 70s. Still low humidity, 68 for the overnight low. Friday, sunny skies, 88 Friday night. Clear skies, 67 the first weekend of October. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
When you ride, you feel the freedom of the open road. But when the road turns dangerous and an accident happens, the pain and confusion can be overwhelming. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, you need someone who understands. At Kaufman Townsley, we're your St. Louis neighbors. We live here, work here, and we know how important your recovery is. We'll fight for you so you can focus on healing. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight or stop smoking guaranteed. That's right, weight loss seminar at the Marriott St. Louis West in St. Louis at 11 a.m. Registration 10:30 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Registration 1:30 p.m.
This is Fox Across America with Jimmy Fela on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
From everywhere USA, it's Fox Across America with Jimmy Fela.
Boom! Here it comes, folks. Buckle up, Buttercup. Your radio buddy is married with one child. Yes, the state confirmed it is mine. Thank you, Maury Povich. The woman who gave birth to that child, Jenny Fela, stopping by in this hour for an on-air family meeting ahead of my trip to the Bronx with 16-year-old Lincoln Fela, who, of course, joins us on the show every Friday for Playground Politics. The show, Fox Across America with Jimmy Fela, your home for top shelf radio in a bottom-feeding political world. And that race to the bottom picking up even more speed as the government shutdown continues to linger in Washington. The next vote to possibly reopen things will be at 1 p.m. Friday afternoon. My guess is this will wrap up by the weekend, but I've been wrong before, and I'm willing to be wrong again because this is a good old-fashioned talk show. There's no intellectual omnipotence. You don't have to swear an allegiance to my political party or my voting preferences. The only thing you need to do is behave.
I don't care where you come from. I don't care what color you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how dumb you are.
No, ma'am. You could be a Republican. You could be a Democrat. Just don't be a bang as we roll on to the final hour. I'm actually really excited to get Jenny on the show because it's funny. You think I'm saying this as a joke when my family's on the air. If I didn't have them as guests on the show, I wouldn't talk to them. Like the way schedules are in TV and radio, so that we don't check in. You get a text message here or there. But we get a very, very fleeting amount of time together during the week because you're busy. Like, maybe today you might start off doing Fox and Friends. For in the morning. So you're out of your house at, say, 5 a.m. to go do Fox and Friends, early part of the show. Then you might have a Fox business hit. You might have a couple of radio hits. Then you do a couple of hours of radio yourself. Then you do a primetime TV. Next thing you know, it's 11 o'clock at night. How much have you really seen the person if you left at 5 a.m. and you're home at 11? And the answer is not a lot, which is probably why we're married for as long as we are. Actually, in truth,
I admire your honesty.
that schedule I'm describing is probably the superpower to our marriage. That being said, I'm always excited to see Jenny and have a chit chat. She's a great guest. She has a lot to say about the world. And I'm going to kind of ambush her today when she's on the show because there's something going on in dating culture and pop culture that is, I think, so far into her wheelhouse in terms of how she can distill advice that will help you. Does that make sense? When I get on the air every day,
All I'm trying to do is a fun, entertaining show and give us perspective about world events, help people downshift, take the edge off. But in truth, I'm trying to help because it's new. I'm new to media. I've been doing a show for about 5 years, and everything I've ever wanted to accomplish in my adult life, I've accomplished. It's not mean I'm done. You got to keep striving and climbing and everything in between. But the things I wanted to do, I wanted a radio show and a TV show since I was a little kid. I have one. They're doing great. That's amazing. But the minute you hit those goals, if you're a good person, you start thinking about all the other people you can help now that you're up here. How many hands can you give out? How many people can you yank up the mountain? I mean, for real, that's what you do if you're a halfway decent person. And I would put myself exactly at halfway decent. I would not put myself above it, not with a straight face anyway. But I am a halfway decent person. And at these heights, you're just trying to help people attain them just the same. So when I bring Jenny on, is always a point. Like, when I bring Lincoln on and I'm like, well, he's going to tell us who to bet this weekend. I'm aware most of you aren't betting high school football. Some of you are. Well, I've met you. You are. Okay. But I'm also trying to give you some insight